7:01. So Dave, why don't we start? And I'm sure maybe he's just hit a little
He
traffic or
just
something.
he's no, he just he's on.
Okay, perfect. Oh, there he is. Okay, just missed him. All right, Dave, you good?
Good.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the Town of Wakefield Board of Appeals meeting for Wednesday, June 26, 2024. Reminder to everyone, the meeting is being recorded. It will be available for replay on the town's website within a couple of days. Take attendance by roll call for members. Dave Hatfield,
Here.
Chip Tarbell,
Here.
Joe Pride,
Yeah.
Vicky Feely,
Here.
Kasumi Humphries,
Yeah.
Greg Demerjian.
Here.
I'll note that Kirsten Brown is unable to join us tonight. My name's Tom Lucy. Obviously, I'm here. At this point, I'm going to ask our clerk to read the call of the meeting. It's a long one tonight, Joe, so I hope you have some water. So have at it.
Yeah.
On the screen.
Yeah, bear with me here. So, consistent with the governor's orders, extended certain provisions of the open meeting law. Every effort will be made to allow the public to view and or listen to this meeting in real time. If you do not have a camera or microphone on your computer, but you may use the following dial-in number: 1-301-715-8592, meeting ID 825-9991-9668, passcode 443373. Please use only dial-in or computer, not both. As audio feedback will distort the meeting, this meeting will be audio and video recorded. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, this location is accessible to people with disabilities. Wakefield provides reasonable accommodations and or language assistance free of charge upon request. If you are a person with a disability and require information on or materials in an alternate format, or if you require any other accommodation, please contact the town's disability coordinator, William Renault, town engineer, at 781-246-6308. As far in the event as possible, every effort will be made to grant your request. Advance notification will enable the town to make reasonable arrangements to remove an accessibility barrier for you. 1. Continued hearings. 2. 24-4450 Bartley LLC. Application for a party aggrieved for review of a decision and or order made by the building inspector dated April 8th, 2024, pursuant to MGLC 40A, Section A, and Article 10, Section 190-65 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, related to the applicant's rental of the subject premises. The property is shown as map 08, lot parcels 155B of the assessors map and is located at 50 Bartley Street. 2. 24-45 Sarah Jane Mullins, Tamara M. Mullins, and Robert L. Mullins Jr. Application for a party aggrieved for review of a decision and or order made by the building inspector dated April 8th, 2024, pursuant to MGLC 40A, Section A, and Article 10, Section 190-65 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw. Related to the applicant's rental of the subject premises, the property is shown as map 11, lot parcel 04A of the assessors map and is located at 36 Elm Street. 4. 24-46 Raffiante Arifin Franz and William Franz. Application for a party agreed for a review of a decision and or order made by the building inspector dated April 8th, 2024, pursuant to MGLC 40A, Section 8, and Article 10, Section 190-65 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, related to applicant's rental of the subject premises. The property is shown as map 17, lot parcel 007 of the assessors map and is located at 60 Bryant Street. 5. 24-47 John McDonald, trustee, 20 Avon Street, revocable trust, application for a party aggrieved for review of a decision and or order made by the building inspector dated April 8th, 2024, pursuant to MGLC 40A, Section 8 of Article 10, Section 190-65 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, related to applicant's rental of the subject premises. The property is shown as map 12, lot parcel 072 of the assessors map, and is located at 20 Avon Street, 48, sorry. Northeast Warehouse, Boston, LLC, application for a variant pursuant to Article 13, Section 190-80 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw pertaining to signage requirements. The property is shown as map 17, lot parcels 1924 of the assessors map, and is located at 3 Melvin Street, 7. Maria D. Spindler, trustee of the Maria D. Spindler Revocable Trust of 2014, application for determination and/or finding with respects to a continuation and extension of non-conforming uses under Article 9, Section 190-50A of the Wakefield zoning bylaw related to proposal to construct a porch addition onto the existing single-family dwelling and to enclose and convert the existing carport into a garage. The property is shown as map 27, lot parcel 137, the assessors map, and is located at 71 Renwick Road. 8. 24-50 G&T Main Street LLC, application for a party aggrieved for review of a decision of the building inspector dated May 20th, 2024. Pursuant to MGLC 40A, Section A of Article 10, Section 190-65 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw related to the applicant's desire and right to reconstruct a mixed-use commercial residential building that was destroyed by a catastrophic fire in May of 2023 under Section 190-53 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw. The property is shown as map 17, lot parcel 87B of the assessors map, and is located at 340-340A Main Street, Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Joe. Tough one tonight. All right, as we get into this, we're gonna try to be efficient tonight, so we'll move a few things around. The first continued hearing is 2377, 2379. I'm gonna move this down the agenda to the other, under new cases. The same entity is has applied for a variance for signage. Although this portion of the hearing will be continued, but we'll make the motion at that point to do that. The next matter that's going to be continued is case 2449, the Marie Spindler trustee, located at 71 Renwick Road. Have a letter from attorney Brian McGrail requesting that the matter be continued to the August 14th meeting of this board. So I'll be looking for a motion to continue the matter to our August 14th meeting.
I'll move,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey.
Yes.
I vote yes, that matter's continued to August 14th. Back to continued hearings. The first up is case 2410, the residence at Nahant LLC. Mr. Panos, are you on? I see you with your architect there. And
Yes.
You submitted some materials Friday. Why don't you
Yes,
proceed and walk us through the materials?
yes, so we submitted lots of material on Friday. We gave you a full set of engineered site development plans. We gave you preliminary architectural plans, which were prepared to present tonight compared to what was presented to you on May 8th. And these are revised plans. The revisions are consistent with the changes required by the civil set. And then you got a fully compiled set of all of the plans in one kind of bound package. You also got a technical report in support of comprehensive permit. That's your stormwater management report. that was done pursuant to the test pits, which were conducted on May 23rd and observed by the town engineer. Now, the town engineer also raised previously this issue of whether or not a sheen observed back in October raised concerns of 21E issues. So we had an LSP also on site. We thought that would be a good idea, who also took soil samples and groundwater samples, tested them, and found no reportable concentrations of hazardous material on site. And we provided you with his report, which is, pardon me, about 58 pages long. And then because we shifted the building and changed some of the dimensions, mostly setbacks, I updated the list of requested exemptions and waivers from applicable town bylaws. And as I said, you got the 21E report from Geological Field Services. A full set of 11x17 plans was also hand delivered to the town. It was, however, after hours on Friday, so I want to confirm that you got that. Gail Conroy, your clerk, requested them to include in the file, just one paper set, apparently.
Yes, I received them.
Excellent. So that, in a nutshell, is what you got.
Okay, do you want to walk us through the, the reports in a comprehensive way here? Particularly,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't have my engineer with me tonight, so I'd rather, if I may, through you, Chair, give you an opportunity to digest them a little bit, because I know there's a lot and you got them on Friday. Our engineer has committed to be here for your, I believe, July 10th hearing. But if you want to focus us, I know you need to be efficient with your agenda tonight, and I want to assist you with that. If you want to focus us on anything in particular that you would want to hear at that July 11th hearing from him, or if you prefer he give you the whole overview of what he's prepared, that in and of itself is going to take some time. Tonight, I thought it might be a good idea for efficiency purposes to walk you through some of those design elements. And I have Stefano here, which will make consistent, because I remember on May 10th, the board had lots of comments, mostly with regard to making design plans consistent with other plans. And there were some other changes that were impacted by the civil.
Yeah, I'll just remind you that the 180 days is up on September 11th. We have
Correct.
a meeting in July, we have a meeting in August, and then a meeting on September 11th. We're going to want to hear from the town's DPW and our subject matter experts on
Yes.
those stormwater reports that you have filed. We don't have a lot of runway here, Mr. Panos. So I'll throw it open to the board too. I have some concerns that this board doesn't have all the information it needs at this point in time, with comment from our subject matter experts from the town as it relates to some of these engineering things, these engineering reports as well. So board members, I'll throw it open to you to comment on what you want to do tonight and what you want to do on July 10th.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd be happy to hear what they want to present tonight. But on July 10th, I would ask, since his engineer hopefully will have responses back from our town engineer as basically the third party reviewer. And, for us to hear their explanation, we're really waiting to get our engineer and the town's engineer to report back. I mean, we can get an overview, but the real issue is, do they meet all the requirements that the town wants met? And I'd also love to know where we stand with TAC at this moment. Because like you said, not a whole lot can get done until we start talking about actual unit counts, and we're waiting for TAC to start that conversation. So maybe you have an update on that as well, but I'm happy to have an overview, quick overview on the architectural based on the changes that have had to be made.
So as it relates to TAC, they did submit the development team did submit a response to the TAC. I have to admit, it didn't really address or adjust anything in terms of safety things. They just made the case for what they were doing, in my opinion, So having talked to Lieutenant Anderson, he's working to schedule a meeting in July for the TAC for this development team and their traffic engineer to go back to TAC. So we're still not ready to talk about that. We won't be ready to talk about it at the July 10th meeting, given the holiday week before and TAC's ability to pull a quorum together and do that. There's no way we're going to be talking about traffic, in my opinion, before the August meeting. So that's another major issue, which is why I referenced the runway to Mr. Panos, and given the 180-day deadline that we have. We are running out of meetings. And we don't have all the relevant information for this board to make a decision with that information. So I agree that we should hear tonight, but I don't really want to, and I think Mr. Panos referenced this, and I agree that it's not helpful for us to go over the engineering report because their engineer's not here and our subject matter experts from the town have not weighed in on it. So I think we should tee that up for the July 10th meeting if we possibly can. Anybody else? Dave, Joe, Mickey, Greg, Kasumi?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just add, yeah, I mean, again, getting all the plans together, that's fine. If they're all, done consistent and updated, it's just, we want to hear the changes, right? We don't want the full presentation again. We've already heard the initial one, but what's changed, if anything? So if they can do that tonight, or we tee it up for the 10th because they want their engineer to walk us through the architectural and site updates, then we do it then, right? But I would agree, until we've got what we need from our peer reviews, they have engineers to speak to the changes. I don't know what else we accomplished tonight, honestly.
Yep. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, I agree with Dave wholeheartedly. I'm disappointed that there's nothing for, there's no TAC, which is the reason why a lot of this stuff got pushed, because a lot of it depends upon the TAC. The fact that the engineer isn't here tonight is also disappointing. So show us what you got. I don't know what, if we're talking about clapboard and windows, then it's going to be a short meeting. But go ahead.
No, I agree though, and I will ask the board. They did update the as Mr. Panos referenced, the review of all the the offsets from our zoning board. So I do think that table was helpful and it's good for us to have. And so I do appreciate that effort that was made by the development team. Even if we don't discuss that tonight, maybe we can gloss over that tonight and for board members to start to consider those items as well. Anybody else?
Tom, I agree with everybody. I think if they can give it like 5-10 minutes. Plus, we have members of the public here that they keep chiming in, coming into these meetings, spending their Wednesday nights that they don't have to be doing this. So, they keep coming, and then we keep telling them to wait till the next meeting and then the next meeting. So they're here. So why don't we see what they got this way? Even the members of the public.
If you can walk through that quickly, Mr. Panos, and give us the highlights of the waiver table that you gave us, the updated waiver table that you gave us. I think that is helpful. Well, it's helpful to me. If other board members don't want to hear it, that's fine too. We can wait on that.
Well, I'm gonna
I-
make it easier for you in that regard, but before I do that, I just want to confirm a couple of things. So for the summertime, you're gonna be on a one meeting a month schedule
Yeah.
Correct.
in July and August, okay?
And that-
And.
By the
I'm
way,
sorry.
that's been clear since the beginning of this process, so that is
Okay.
not new news.
Sure, I'm just confirming. And have you been in touch with any of your technical subject matter reviewers as to timing? And when you might be hearing from them, getting memos back?
Well, we just received the engineering memos on Friday.
Right, right.
I can't expect and demand that the town engineers look over 2.5 day period of,
Not asking you to. I was just wondering if they had any sense on how long it was going to take them.
they know that's a priority and they're aware of the 180-day schedule. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And what I would also add, Tom, if I could, is that often we don't contact them. Their engineer contacts them and make sure that everything's in place and make sure that there's usually a dialogue back and forth to make sure that all the questions are answered. That's not our job. That's your engineer's job.
Right, and those conversations have been ongoing from the time, I can confirm that, from the time the test pits were scheduled. They've been in some communication, so I will make it a point to reiterate that those conversations need to happen because we rely on those written technical reviews, obviously. To make
Correct,
any.
and your
further adjustments.
engineer should be able to answer
Yeah.
that question for you.
Okay, and the last administrative point I would ask is, do you want to get a preview of this on July 8th through your subcommittee? A preview of only civil.
I'll talk to Chip and I'll send you an email.
Okay,
Because without the input from our subject matter experts, I am not an engineer. I'm not sure what the value of that time for either side of this. So, all right. So with that, why don't you walk us through what you have?
sure. So as far as the zoning waiver requests, the really bylaw waiver requests, really most of it is confined to the last page, which is the zoning table, which is included in the revised site plan. And this talks about, and it came from the same form that was originally submitted, but it talks about, obviously, we're in a split zone, so it talks about the dimensional requirements in the business district, the single residence district. Then you have a bylaw under 190-32 with regard to mid-rise, multifamily dwellings. And then you have existing condition and proposed condition.
Mr. Chair, point of order, sorry, can we get something on the screen for the benefit of the public?
And just to correct you, Mr. Panos, it's a minor thing, but it's 190-31.
I'm sorry?
It's 190-31, not 190-32.
Oh, pardon me, thank you. I will make that correction.
We can at least put that up on the screen. I think it'll be helpful for others.
No, it's this. Do you have it?
I don't know if I have that one. I could probably grab it, but it would take a couple minutes.
Hold on. We want to put it up on the screen for you, so I'm going to email it. If I email it, will you have it?
Yeah, give me a minute.
Hold on a sec. Pardon me, I apologize. Let's see.
Can you send it to this email?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, what is the email?
Beverly Conference at svdesign.com.
Should have that. I don't know if I'm on your Wi-Fi. I'm just gonna do it through my hotspot.
Sorry, if you're having trouble, we can wait. You know, I don't want to keep everyone waiting here. We can do it at the next meeting, but these waivers are obviously important to what you're seeking for relief. So
Right,
I think it's important that we go over them.
yes.
We always do, Mr. Chair, we
Yeah.
always do, so,
That's my point.
yeah, but
But
for
I don't
future,
want,
yeah, all this
Don't we
materials are
usually
sent to
go
us.
over them at the end? When,
yeah, we can wait because I don't want to take everyone's time up here
Yeah.
tonight. You know, but it's, again, it's critical to what this board is looking at in terms of the technical aspects of what we're supposed to adjudicate this case on. So whether or not we go over it tonight or if you can have it prepped for the next time, I think it's important. And I think other board members agree. So let's move on. If you're having a technical or Wi-Fi issue there, let's move on to the other part of your presentation. And please make a note that the board is going to want to take a close look at those
Yeah.
waivers.
Absolutely. So what we thought might be helpful is to talk about, yeah, this isn't sending. So what we thought would be helpful is to talk about some of the design changes. I know in addition to the requested waivers and many other elements of this proposed development that you are very keen on understanding and focused on the architectural plans and how we think this is going to look. And you want to make sure that as we present it, it looks as it would look superimposed in the existing condition. Is that kind of a fair characterization? We added elements like telephone poles, things that are on the site now that we don't expect really to change all of that much. And with that, and through the chair and the board, I'd like to hand it over to Stefano, who can kind of walk you through this. Again, we will confine these presentations, this presentation, to just changes. We won't go over what we've already talked about in the past, okay?
Yeah, try to move quick here. Stefano Basso, SV Design, office at 126 Dodge Street in Beverly. Thanks for having us again tonight. So as Jason mentioned, the architectural plans, the design hasn't changed too much since we last presented it. We've been going through and tweaking things as the civil engineer's been working through the vertical design of the site. So that's the grading with the topos around the driveways and the stormwater management. So along with that, we went through and made sure that all of our landscape elements are coordinated on the landscape plan with the renderings. We've updated the site context sections that you saw back, I think during the previous scheme, So those are updated to show the current building massing in relationship to adjacent properties. We've added a shadow study of the building. We relocated a transformer that was by the street away. We've reduced the size of the trees shown to be reflective of a size at installation. We also coordinated with a traffic consultant on tree locations in terms of sight lines, also fencing locations. And we've updated the renderings, as Jason mentioned, and then we did add some bike racks too. So on the civil plan here, we still have a single means of ingress to the site on the west side, one-way traffic around the back of the building. We have a two-way driveway on the east side here. We've adjusted some sidewalk locations to work with that vertical grading, as we mentioned. In doing so, we've moved around a few planting beds. I'm gonna the transformer is over here. It might be a little easier to see on the other plan. And then the garage doors into the garage parking. We have one here, the run of the building along the Hunt Street, and then the rear garage entry here. No changes to those elements. So looking at the architectural plan, you can see we've slightly adjusted the main building lobby entrance here to better align with the grading of the site. There is a little bit of a pitch up as you come down the driveway here. So to better work with stormwater runoff, the doors have shifted from this side of the wall to over here. We've reconfigured this entry plaza area a little bit to work with that. And we got a little bit of free space for some bike racks here. So there's some bike storage. In addition to the bike storage that's on the interior of the garage, we have another set over here on the west entry side where the mail package room is. And we've carved out a little bit more space for some bike racks down here at the bottom end of the open lawn space where it got pretty skinny. So better served as bike racks. The EV charging station is a little tough to see. Those are, can I zoom? Can I zoom? EV charging spaces are located here. So those are closer to the building, closer to the garage entrances. The fire departments typically like to see them outside of the building because of the risk of fire. They like to see them close to where they can get to them on the site. And we try not to locate them too far away from the building because of the conduit runs. So those are the spots for the EV charging. And then this is a little easier to read, the transformer over here on the east side. If you remember, it was back here right in the corner off the sidewalk before. So originally very visible from the roadway, now it's tucked back. We have cut back the fence on this corner here as well to allow for better sight lines. And we've reduced the trees that we're showing in front of the building so that a driver exiting the property here has a better sight line and less obstructions looking to the west down the Hunt Street. No changes to the building floor plans, so I won't get into that. This view is similar to what you saw last time. We've just modified it with the transformer and some of the plantings and the fence. We've also modified the landscape in front of the building. So the building itself looks the same, but a little bit of a different setting there. Hard to see from this far away, but same updates to the landscape in front of the building here. Close up of the building, we've added the telephone poles in on this view so you can see their location relative to the building with the overhead wires.
Can you clarify the distance to those poles? Has
The
that been
distance-
measured and reviewed with the DPW? Wasn't there an issue on another project, board members? The building was gonna be too close to some power and they had to be so many feet away.
Yeah, the balconies, you're right, Dave.
I think that was on Carmine, wasn't it?
Or the Water Street
That's
one on the
the
corner,
Carmine.
the Water Street one that never got done, but anyway, do you know the distance there?
That was on Water Street where the lines were almost touching the building. They have to be 10 feet from that.
Is
Do
it
we
10 or
have,
14? I forget it was. Yeah, so.
Specifically.
We can get back to you on that, Mr. Hatfield.
All right, the town engineer will know. I mean, the DPW will, or the light department, sorry.
And
Yeah, yeah.
I think in clarification of that, Scott Cameron is talking with your light department on relocating perhaps telephone poles or wires. I've not been a part of that discussion, so or checking in to make sure that the distances are proper, that they don't have to be moved. I know the issue is being talked about.
Okay.
I just don't know the status of it, and I don't certainly know if it's concluded. I doubt it has, because I know nothing about it. But I know it's being talked about.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So we will get you an answer on that. At the eastern side, building main entry lobby here, you can see the change in the door location and the bike racks over here. We've modified a little bit of that open area, the lawn to the left and the planting beds over on the right side to accommodate that. Over on the west side, you can see the bike racks that we've added here. This is the access. I think we presented this last time, but this is the access for the trash room where dumpsters will be pulled out on this side. We've also scaled down some of these trees a bit. And on the front facade along the Hunt Street, no changes to the building, but all the landscape changes that we've mentioned in the telephone poles.
And this is a new render.
Didn't have that last time?
Oh.
Okay, so if we haven't looked at this, this is the view of the building along the Hunt Street. So the eastern driveway is just off screen to the left. We have the prominent corner tower moment on that driveway side. The building does a couple steps back, about 4 feet or so. So you can get a better, clearer picture, besides just the corner views of what the facade's doing along the front. We have some little 1-foot box bays with Juliet balconies in here. And in the most recessed portion, we've added another set of balconies. This is one of the locations, we've done this in a few spots around the building, when we added in the sloped roof to help break up the linear length of the building here. We've broken the sloped roof in some limited areas, so you can see the roof kind of start and stop as you jog back around the building. And then as you round the corner back on the other side with the western driveway just off screen to the right here, we have a balcony on that corner and then a bay window here in the middle that bumps out. So we have that standing seam metal roof wash all along the 4th floor line here, similar to the other parts of the building. On the landscape plan, we are showing our pole mounted and bollard lighting. So we have on our list, we're also going to get you the lighting plan with the all of the lumen counts and everything, all the calculations on it. So we'll have an updated version of this plan that provides a little bit more information on the lighting as well. Then looking at the site context sections, these cut through neighboring properties. So we had the civil engineer do some site surveying. They shot topos for grading and also building heights of a few select buildings across the street and next door. So we can take a look and see how the massing of the building relates to those. You can see some of the sloping. Obviously, the property has a lot of hills in the neighborhood. So you can see generally as you head either north across the street or west along the Han Street, we're sloping up. So looking at the top site section, this one's cutting right across the long side of the building with Nahant Street in the middle here. So these are the buildings, a couple buildings across the street. So you can see that they're a few feet higher here. Can try to zoom in a little bit so you can actually read this. So about 4 feet higher at the base of the building, and we have the roof peak called out. So you can see, you know, this is a sloped roof building. So what we're looking at here is the ridge, and then, you know, as you come down, this would be the eave line for the building here. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the building height. And then this is the one behind it that's got a little tower on it.
Yeah, just, you know, if you go back up to that section, the amount of massing, I mean, wow. Compared to those little houses across the street. You know, yikes. You know, all right, it is what, this is what you're proposing, so whatever, I mean, but it is, I mean, that's a Titanic compared to like a canoe. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a view that, you know, it's a diagram, so it's not something that you experience, you know, in this relationship, in reality ever. You know, the relationship that you're gonna get on the street is the difference between, you know, 4-story and a 2.5 story or 3-story building across the street. But I hear what you're saying. If you do look at going all the way back down the site. So the second one in the middle
Well, excuse
here.
me, sorry, coming off mute,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. What pages
Yeah.
are these in the reports that we were given? Are they in
They're
the
in there,
architect?
Dave. They
What?
were in there, they're in the back of,
Which
hold on.
document? Yeah. I'm looking,
So-
I just,
Yeah, in the architectural set, it's right after the renderings. Oh, thought it was right after the renderings.
I got
Mr. Hatfield,
material.
It's in the architectural set.
Oh,
It's
there it is. Page 11,
302.
yep. I
yeah,
skipped
it's in the
right through
one,
it.
yeah, just, yeah, preliminary architectural plans, new construction is the title of the document there.
No, I scrolled, it's like page 11. I thought it was tucked
Yeah.
in the back with the shadow thing and I scrolled too fast. Thank you.
Nope,
Never
no
mind.
problem.
A lot of pages here, a lot of reports.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff, for sure.
So the second section is cutting parallel with Nahant Street. So this is cutting through the front of the building, the 4-story portion. So these are the buildings on either side, the western, eastern driveway over here on the left, the neighboring house, and the western driveway over here on the right, the neighboring house.
For people that didn't get these plans, what's the length of the building up front compared to the length of the buildings on each side?
I don't have a scale on this. Let's see.
Because the neighbors don't get what the board members get.
There's a
Obviously.
scale. There's a scale. You
Yeah, we
can-
have 163 feet of length on our building, and then I would say close to 50 feet for
You know, if yours is 163, it's more than 3 times larger than the one there on the left.
yeah. So 143 Nahant, I would say about 50 feet. If it's helpful, we could add the lengths onto this and I can
Yeah,
get you.
how about the building on the right there?
Yeah, so 109. Looks more like in the 25.
Yeah.
28-foot range.
Yeah, so just making the point, yours is exponentially larger, like not by a little bit. Okay, please proceed.
And then this one, zoom out a little bit. So this one's cutting through just the 4-story piece. So cutting through a little bit further to the east on the right of the sheet. So it's only cutting through the 4-story part of the building here, and it's running back to the rear of the site, to the neighboring property downhill a little bit.
Comments, questions?
I think this was the elevation we wanted to see was the east. It just seems like this ledge area is cutting off that true elevation change from the street.
Their response to that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, this was the elevation that we were questioning was the east. And it just seems like this gray hatch here was blocking off the true elevation change from the street. So what is the elevation at the left side of this section of the building?
So let me zoom in here. So we have 93.4 at the house. We have 96.3 at the rear of the building here. There is a pretty good size ledge. I think that's cutting through a portion where the site is starting to slope up more on the neighboring property.
I think these are really good questions for when the civil engineer is here that can actually answer these rather than
Okay.
having the architect try to struggle through it,
Fair point.
in my humble opinion.
So you've heard these questions. I think Greg raised a good point. We'd like it addressed by the civil at the next meeting.
All right, we will make a note.
But I would just echo your comment, Mr. Chair. Wow. Just the scale when you see it in some of these. And further on with the shadow too. I mean, it's just.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Chair, one comment. Just that there are a lot of people here, and I think they'd appreciate you referring to those buildings as homes and not just buildings or blocks. And also 163 feet, just to confirm, that's over a half a football field. Is that correct? Football field
yeah.
being 300 feet, and this is 163, so it's over half a football field.
Yeah, sure. If we don't have the end zones, then I'll agree with you.
Yeah.
All right. We ready for the shadow study?
Please proceed.
So a quick overview for some folks who maybe haven't seen a shadow study before. This is a diagram where we look at the building and we've selected 9 moments within the year. So we try to get as broad of a representation of what the shadows impact will be. So we use the shortest day of the year, the longest day of the year, and then the midpoint. So that's June, when the sun is highest, you'll have typically the fewest shadows, right? March and September in the shoulder seasons is the average, and December with the shortest day of the year, the sun's really low, so you'll always have the longest shadows in December. We've also picked 3 times of day to try to get a representation of where those shadows are going to be landing throughout the day. So we picked 9 a.m. in the morning, noon, and 3 p.m. Just want to say that the shadows show where the shadow hits the ground. So this model doesn't take into consideration where a shadow might hit a building, right? So if you have a taller building, the top of the building might not be in the shadow, right? But the ground where the building would be is in the shadow. So the taller the building, if you have a multi-story building, it would be a little different than this, but it gives you a general idea of where the shadows are hitting. The summer shadows typically don't hit any of the neighboring buildings. The shoulder seasons produce most of their heavier shadows on this diagram in the morning due to the side of the site that the building is located on, and the massing and the proximity of where the neighbors' houses are in relation to the building. The 9 a.m. tend to be the longer shadows on this one. And then on the shortest day of the year, it's worth noting that we've only modeled shadows for the proposed building, but every building, all the trees in the neighborhood is producing shadows. So especially in December when the sun's really low, those shadows are coming from everywhere, not just this building.
Yeah, but I'll just note that you referenced tall buildings. There are no other tall buildings in this neighborhood, so we really don't have to worry about that. So yours would be the only tall building in this neighborhood, but please proceed.
Well, any building will produce a shadow. That's the point that I was, just this diagram doesn't include shadows even from a shorter building.
House.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the shadows from your building, please.
So on the left, we have the March, September shadows. In the middle, we have June, and on the right, we have December. On the top row, we have 9 a.m. The middle row is noon, and the bottom row is 3 p.m. So you can see that in the top left corner, March, September 21st at 9 a.m. This is kind of an average 9 a.m. So the buildings to the west are in the shadow. But if you drop down to the next one, by noon, you can see they're well clear of the neighbor's property entirely. And at the bottom there, by 3 p.m., the shadows have shifted around over to the east side, and they're still clear of all the neighboring properties. In the center row, June 21st at 9 a.m. If people can remember what it was like last week, this is a 9 a.m. here, so you can see that the shadow falls short of the neighbor's house at 9 a.m. By noon, there's very little shadows. They look like they're about 6-8 feet off the building. And at the bottom, 3 p.m. shifting to the east, not much, not too bad there. And then over on the right side, December, so this is the shortest day of the year, the 9 a.m. at the top. You can see the shadows covering a lot over to the west. But then by noon, it's completely shifted and is not affecting any of those properties. The shadow shifted more north. And then by 3 p.m., shifting east again, still clear of the property over to the east side of the building there. I can zoom in. I know these are tough for people to read, so I can zoom in on any if you have, if one that you want to focus on.
Board members?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I can, I know the comments were focused on the neighbors and the neighbors' houses. What I'm most concerned about in almost every one of these, except for some of the noon ones, is the amount of shadows that's being placed on the Hahn Street. And in our climate during the winter, the roads are icy, the roads are unsafe. This road's horrible to begin with. And now we're casting a shadow on it for the majority of the day. I mean, we can certainly nitpick majority, quote unquote, but for a lot of the day, this scares me to no end regarding the safety of that road in front of this building. And the only reason the shadow affects that much in Nahant is because of the location of it being so close to Nahant Street. So between the sidewalk in front of this building being covered by shadow almost all the time and the shadows on Nahant Street, I'm hoping that our TAC has seen this, because this to me is a huge, huge safety concern.
If they have it, Chip, I'll make sure it's forwarded to Lieutenant Anderson. Anybody else? I'll just say it'd be nice to see the homes in the area. I know you've got property lines there. It'd be nice to see the locations of the homes. If that's at all possible.
They're on here, they're pretty light. We could go back and.
Could darken them up for, that would be great. I'd appreciate it. I'm
Yeah,
sure some of
they're-
the abutters that are on this call will want to see where their house sits and where they sit relative to the shadows. I think that's a fair request from the neighbors.
Yep, yeah, we can amend this one so that it's a little legible. We just brought in the civil plan, so that's why it's reading a little faintly, but we can, go over it.
Okay, thank you. Please do.
Mr. Chair, I would just add to Chip's comment. I mean, he said, voiced a totally valid concern, right? And I would say, yeah, it's primarily due to the proximity to the street and the mass of the building. It's tall, it's huge, and it's casting a huge shadow. Their engineer even said due to the mass. So everyone needs to acknowledge that. It's due to the proximity of the street and the overall mass of the building. Next.
Anybody else?
I agree with Chip and Dave and everybody else. Like the winter time is the time everybody wants to see the sun, and it's like in the shadow all day, every day in the winter time. I don't know what to say. It's just too big.
I'd like to echo Chip's comment on the safety and the ice and the and how that is ever going to melt or see the light of day. I mean, basically, as Dave was getting into the massing and the size and just the sheer size, we haven't even got into how many cars come out of here, trucks. I'm worried as a town, we're about to spend $400 million on a new high school that nobody can get to. That's my comment.
All right, thank you. Anybody else before we move forward? Okay, with that, Mr. Panos, you have anything else you want to share tonight?
Were there any other changes? One thing I would direct your attention to, because it's a handy chart, we did upgrade or update the building summary, and this will give you a lot of information at your fingertips with regard to how many bedrooms we have, how many units per with associated bedrooms, associated parking, ADA compatibility, that type of thing. So if you're looking for some quick information, this is a good place to find it with regard to the proposed development. I just want to draw your attention to that. It was also revised from the initial submission back in September last year.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, I think we have our marching orders for July and what you'd like to see. It's going to be very engineering focused. I will prepare a presentation on the zoning waivers and make that technical correction. Thank you for pointing that out. The reason why I think and obviously it's up to you and how you want to spend the time, but the reason why I think the subcommittee meeting a couple of days ahead of time might be helpful is to perhaps better focus the presentation on the 10th, but entirely up to you, just based on my experience and how these subcommittee meetings have been flowing. We found them helpful in focusing the conversation and preparing for the next presentations before the board, but up to you. And
No, like I said, I'll talk to Chip. I'm available, and I agree that we need to, we should hone in on what will be presented on the following couple of days meeting. So I'll talk to Chip about the 8th, given
Sure.
our meeting on the 10th.
And I think we're all set with our presentation tonight. So I'm happy to give it back to the board.
Okay. Board members, any other comments, questions before I turn it over to members of the public for public comment?
No, Mr. Chair.
Hearing, seeing none. If you're a member of the public and are here to comment on this case, please use the raised hand function in Zoom, and I will get to you in the order that you pop up on my screen.
No.
Paula Gardella, please, I know many of you have testified before, but I do have to ask that you give your name and your address for the public record.
Paula Gardella, 10 Wilson Road. I just want to say one thing. I don't need a shadow study to know that this building will cause me to lose my sunshine. That's it. And my
Thank you, Paul.
sunsets, and my sunsets, of course.
Thank you, Paula. I know you've been here and participating. I appreciate all your patience and your willingness to participate. Next
Thank
up,
you, guys.
Cheryl Drews. Cheryl, if you could unmute yourself.
I'm pressing the wrong button. Sorry, Tom.
Okay.
272 Nahan Street, Farm Street End. In light of the car accident that went through a front door this week in Nahan Street, I'm very concerned about the building's closeness to the road. Are they going to get a guardrail? I mean, that's a school area where kids walk on the sidewalk. The street is horrible. We all know that. I think the building's too large. It needs to be moved back. Most of the houses on Nahan Street have wonderful front yards. This place doesn't. In the Franklin School Apartments, they have beautiful property. It's not on the sidewalk.
Okay, thank you. Victoria Turner.
Yeah, 16 Wilson Road. So first, I just want to talk about how insulting it is to come to so many of these meetings, to see the lack of preparedness, to see people not showing up. I am not getting paid. I have 2 under 2 sitting in the other room trying to entertain them. I'm coming as often as I can, and these people aren't showing up, and it's just insulting. So I'd like to begin with that. Then the visual comparisons on the height. You managed to pick all of the tallest buildings in the neighborhood. You grabbed the 2-story house that sits on top of a retaining wall. You didn't grab the 2-story house sitting right next to it. You grabbed the 3-story multifamily. You didn't grab the small 1-story little cape. It's just ridiculous. You know you're cherry picking here. You also did not include the ledge that this will be sitting on and the houses behind it, which are mine and my neighbors. That was nowhere in there. Did it show that sheer drop off with the culvert behind it. We already have water issues. Nowhere was that in your study. So again, cherry picking, insulting. Like, and the shadows, really, first, they're monstrous in the study. I would be so upset if I was in any of those. I happen to be on the other side, that I'm gonna guess is gonna get hit at 6 p.m., which you also conveniently did not show. This building is too large. It has too many people going into it. It doesn't have enough parking spaces. It doesn't have the green space. This is going to be dangerous. It's already scary crossing Nahant Street with my children. This will make it worse. This is just ridiculous. Sorry, I'm done.
No, all valid. Thank you, Victoria. Marie Olivera. Can you unmute yourself, please?
It's at the top.
Yeah, there you go. Can you
Yeah.
hear me now?
I can now, thank you.
Yeah, along with Cheryl, I don't know if people remember earlier this year, down by me, which is Valley Street area, a woman driving a truck hit a utility pole early evening, and we were without power for about 3 hours. So these accidents happen pretty regularly. And Mr. Chair, if I can mention just a few things that might touch upon traffic. Nobody's really talked about the town dump on this street.
You focus on that every time.
Yeah, and the issues that it poses. During the fall, we have tons of cars driving leaves and debris. They can hardly see out their back windows. And in snow time, we have DPW trucks going in and out all night long, picking up sand. So I don't know if just having a dump on our street precludes us from taking on yet another burden of all these big buildings. Also, I wanted to mention now, without the high school, the track team, 2 seasons, they run up and down the street every afternoon, down valleys, over the water, and make a loop. And I have to tell you, there are at least 50 boys and girls that do that often. So I think that's something we should think about. At one point within the year, I did drive around the Woodville, the vocational school, Farm Street, parking wherever they were. And there were over 600 cars in one day that goes into that educational complex. Now, certainly some from farm and all of that, but a big chunk of them from Nahant Street. And, I think that should certainly be a consideration. They're also talking about putting a skating rink up there at some point down the road, which means we have all this traffic from surrounding towns for hockey games. And so my concern is what this will look like in the future. We know what 40B looks like now, many years later, that we didn't anticipate. So I think
So Marie, I'm gonna ask you on traffic. I know we've been as frustrated as all the neighbors that it has taken this long to get to where we are, and that we haven't had a full meeting on traffic, but we do intend to have that. I suggest that you bring up all those points when we have Lieutenant Anderson from the Wakefield Police Department, Mr. Renault, who's the town engineer. They will be relative points at that meeting. And again, I understand your frustration with waiting this long to get into traffic. So we are going to get to that. And I agree with every point that you made. So you're back on mute though, Marie, if you're going to talk about a different point.
Up the top.
It's down. Okay. So when I looked at the bump outs actually make the building look even more overwhelming because they come closer, they come further out. So, I don't know if that should be looked at. And we haven't seen the developer, and I know we were gonna have a neighborhood meeting, Mr. Chair. Is that gonna happen after the TAC meeting? Or what are your thoughts on that?
But I only control, as board members, we only meet as a board. Wanted to have another forum with town officials, that would kind of be on you. That's.
Oh, I
that's-
thought, I thought you had mentioned that, and maybe I misunderstood, that you were
No,
gonna.
that we were thinking about this, depending on the timing, because again, it comes down to this 180 days that we have to make a decision. We only have our July meeting after this, our August meeting, and our September 11th meeting. We had talked about having a special meeting of this board to talk about traffic. But it would be a meeting of this board with the development team, with our traffic experts, with the development team's traffic engineer as well.
Okay. Okay, so thank you very much for your patience. And
No.
you guys are doing a great job representing us. I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for continuing to attend. Karen McMaster. Karen, you're still on mute too. Karen, still on mute.
My goodness, I have to get a laptop or something. I'm sorry, my phone
No
wasn't working.
problem. Please go ahead.
Karen McMaster, 25 Nahan Street. I just want to be clear. We did have a TAC meeting and this group development did not show. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure that I was in work at 8 o'clock. Got permission on my time to do this meeting and they did not show for the meeting. Again, delays.
Yeah, that I do the same, Karen. I'm a volunteer. I take those Friday mornings off to attend the meeting, and they did. They did extend it, and they have to come back to another meeting, as referenced earlier. Lieutenant Anderson from the Wakefield Police Department has said that he's trying to schedule a July meeting that will bring this development team back to the TAC. They did file a response to some of the comments from the previous meeting. I know that this last meeting, they didn't show up. They had to continue, but so it's an ongoing thing.
It's very frustrating, as I hear it with Victoria and everybody. We're here. I mean, whether I'm on vacation or not, I'm making sure that I'm zooming in. You don't have development teams here. You don't have it's very, very frustrating. I do have a couple issues that I have, and I'm not going to get into traffic like you said, but so we have a lot of deliveries. Despite how many vehicles these people are going to have, I did a little research, and if I'm correct, there's one spot for a delivery vehicle in this building to pull into. You can confirm that after my question, but on average, just for Amazon, 72 packages are delivered per individual per year. You have 100 units. Okay, now this is just Amazon, but most people are not going to be living alone. And even if it's 50 packages a year, it's not the traffic of the individuals themselves, it's what they're going to bring to it. You still have DoorDash, you have FedEx, you have all these other deliveries, and these people are coming in and out of the building constantly, taking right and left turns. Just to kind of summarize something that was said that was very simple by something that was said at the other TAC meeting. If we have to make all these accommodations, whether it's protecting the building with bumpers, putting blocking out there, putting signage up, doesn't that tell us something that maybe the building just does not fit the neighborhood at all? We already know the massing and the density doesn't fit. But if we have neighbors in a town have to make all these accommodations for the building, it clearly doesn't fit. It's common sense. Look at it. I mean, I don't have to be an architect, a developer, an engineer to look at that building and look at everything around it and clearly see it doesn't fit. So I don't understand all of that, but again, the deliveries and what it's gonna bring, more impact. Landscapers, you're gonna maintain the property, where's the landscaper gonna park when he comes to do all his work? None of these things are looked at. So again, I could go on and on and on. I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, you're not giving us anything that we don't know, we don't see. And yeah, it doesn't fit the neighborhood, plain and simple. Thank you.
Thank you. And just so you know that when TAC issues its final report, it does look at deliveries. It does look at, site circulation for service vehicles as well. People do look at that, Karen. So please be assured that that's being taken into consideration by the town subject matter experts.
Correct. Yes, I do know that. Thank you.
Okay, I see on screen Carl and Allison Jana.
Hi, Carl Jana. I was, I believe it's 21 Hart Street. Yeah, I believe Mr. Fairley, I wanted to thank, I think it was you that said it, but thank you for saying houses versus buildings as if nothing really mattered other than buildings and not people. Concern for my neighbors and myself and my property and the value of my property and my neighbors' properties. After watching somebody fumble around as if, he wasn't going to be ready for a meeting tonight, is a little bit insulting to watch somebody do that. Like, oh, okay, we're moving on. They won't really care, because they're buildings and not people. That's completely wrong. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Also on the plans, I'm not concerned if the public has access to the plans, but briefly looking at the plans, I was looking at it. Something didn't look right. I think on the plans was the parking lot shown in the front of the building on meaning Nahant Street. I don't know if somebody can answer that. Because the
Mr.
drawing showed the building, it showed the building on Nahant Street, just a building versus the parking lot in front. So I was a little confused. Maybe I looked at it the wrong way.
I think that's
Mr.
underground
Bottoms?
parking in that level, right? Is there some underground? I mean, under the building, first floor.
Yeah, that's under.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question so I
It
can
didn't show it
answer?
on the
So
rendering.
let's have one conversation. Mr. Jana, if you have a question for the development team, please address it to Mr. Panos, who will, if
Yes,
he
on
can't
the pic-
answer it tonight, he will answer it at the next meeting.
My question was the parking in front versus the rendering that was shown on Nahant Street. I didn't see any parking on the rendering. I just saw buildings, so I was wondering about that.
Can you go back to the site plan? If you don't mind, we'll share our screen. There is no
Please.
parking proposed in front. All of the parking is proposed to each side of the building. Go to the site plan.
Yeah.
Or that's fine. So there's no parking on Nahant Street proposed. There's an underground garage on the first floor. It's not an underground garage, it's a first floor garage. There'll be parking there, but that's accessed from the back of the building from 2 points. From the back of the building and the side of the building, but there's no parking in front of the building. Is that what you were asking, Mr. Jana?
I'm asking if, can you see it from the street, the parking?
No, it's shielded. I'll defer to the architect on how that works, but no, you will not be able to see the parking from the front of the building, I do not believe. Stefano, do you want to address that?
This isn't a surface parking lot, it's a garage.
Can you show the rendering from Nahant Street, please? Because I do believe there's windows where you're gonna be able to see into the cars.
Yeah, so you're talking about the openings in the
That's what I was
wall?
asking about. Now, are these plans available to the public?
Yeah, well, I'll talk to Gail Conroy about putting them up on the ZBA website.
And okay, I was Mr. Tabo was talking about I believe the shadowing with water building up out in front, and obviously if it's cold, ice melts. And I believe the design team was talking about how the pitch from the building itself will go, the runoff will be head towards Nahant Street. So sun's out, snow melts, ice melts, runs onto Nahant Street, sun's gone, automatically freezes. And there's two-way traffic coming in that part of the building on one side of it. So you have double the traffic coming in there, along with traffic going east and west on the Hart Street. So that runoff, how is that contained to not heading out there to cause a problem? Because it's not like somebody's gonna go run out there every time it freezes and they're gonna put snow melt on there so that there won't be accidents. You know, in the winter, obviously, it starts getting dark, 5 o'clock, starts freezing. There's a lot of traffic coming up and down the street between school, after school events, everyday traffic. And it's a tight area right there. Is that taken into effect?
If I may answer that, Mr. Chair, runoff from the property is addressed in a 177-page report that was submitted to the board. And I prefer to wait for the engineer to present it, but
Yeah.
runoff from the top of the building, actually from impervious surface, is taken into account very much so. There are catch basins and storm infiltrators that are proposed underneath the ground that will catch the runoff from the rooftop and other aspects of the property. With that, I've exceeded my expertise on the matter, and I really don't want to.
Please make a note to have your engineer address it when he returns on July 10th. I think it's a legitimate point.
Sure.
Thank you, and that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Carl. That's the last hand I see raised.
One more.
Mr. Conway, you trying to signal me?
Yes.
Okay, if you could give your name and address, please, for the record.
Yeah, my name is Joseph Conway. I'm 18 Wilson Road. I'm a butter on the east side of the project. As far as the shadowing goes, what they put up on the screens tonight, I don't think it's fair and reasonable to all the abutters or the people on either side of Nahant Street, Wilson Road. I don't think it's fair that we don't actually get to see any of the plans. I mean, you put them up on the screen. All we see is these little pictures, but we can't see like was stated previous, we can't see our property lines. On the east side of the building, I have concern where it was previously mentioned about the ledge and the grades. I know that'll be discussed later. I have a concern over there. On one of the prior meetings, they showed a sketch of the building on the east side where there was a retaining wall, and it was supposed to be a snow retention area, so to speak. That is directly behind my property. And with the shadowing and piling of snow, I saw nothing else on any of the other earlier diagrams or illustrations of where they're going to pile all this snow. The only area I saw was on the east side behind my house. Now the building's up there, there's a shadowing. That's all going to melt. And I'm on myself and the people from 16 Wilson Road are on the downside of the development. And we all know water doesn't run uphill. And we think it's all coming to us. I know you have a drainage guy or an engineer coming to discuss that. I have some deep concerns, particularly about the drainage of this property, of the water, the runoff coming to my property and the people below me, which would be one of the previous speakers, the Turners. And the other thing is, I've been to most of the meetings with many of the other people. We've had the traffic advisory meetings. We talk about on the west side of the building, there's a one-way entrance into the building. On the east side, it's two-way traffic. When the traffic comes around the back of the building where I live, when the traffic comes from the west and from the east to the back to the south, how's it get around the back? It doesn't become two-way traffic to the rear of the complex. What do we do there? And we haven't talked about whether it's two-way traffic for cars, two-way traffic for delivery trucks and a car on either side. One side of the east side, you said you're going to have a rubbish disposal pickup on the east side of the building. The truck has to enter from the east side of the building can go towards the rear of the building, and it will have to exit on the east side of the building. It has to go from the east side, come around, come from the west side of the building, come around to the rear of the building and exit on the east side of the building. We all know what the size of the trash trucks are today. I don't see how that's workable. There's a lot of unknowns here. It's
Yeah. So, Mr. Conway, I agree, and I feel bad having to continue to tell the neighbors this because I don't have any other control, neither do any of the board members. But site circulation, to your point, is going to be discussed by our traffic engineer, the town's police department, town's DPW. It's all part of the TAC report that we will eventually get on this. So people do pay attention to that. As it relates to the drainage on your site, the town's engineers are going to look at the storm water management report and that as well. They are not just going to take the word for this development team. So that will be going over. And again, I have to ask for your patience. As you've heard from all these meetings, the board is as frustrated as the neighbors in terms of the continuances, the lack of information, the timing of all this. So kind of all in the same boat.
Well,
continuing to wait for this development team to deliver the material. So I just got to once again ask you to be patient, and it will come up.
I have one other question.
Sure.
Okay, with all that's going on thus far, okay, I don't think that the development team has been fair and reasonable as far as we've gone this far, okay? And when I say that now, the meter's running, as you say, okay? It's a 180-day window, okay? Well, I don't think you're gonna even come close to being able to make a decision by September. So unless something changes with the amount of meetings that you people have and the development teams, it just doesn't seem reasonable or practical that that's going to happen. So is the date going to get pushed out, or where do we stand on that?
The board cannot, the board can't move to push the date out. That has to be agreed to by the development team. So we don't have the power to do that unilaterally. It would have to be agreed to by the development team. But I would say this, if the board doesn't have the amount of information it needs, development team's taking a risk that, how can we vote on something if we don't have all the relevant information? So I'm sure Mr. Panos is aware of that. This is not his first time. This is not his first rodeo. So with that, is there anybody else that would like to speak on this case? Again, I just want to thank the neighbors for their diligence, for showing up, for their patience. Again, we share your frustration as a board, and we'll move forward from here. Back to the board. Mickey, I saw that you had your hand up.
I did. It was on the timing issue, and I've noticed throughout that Mr. Panos has diligently, not always correctly, said, I got this information to you on this date and this date. I know what he's doing. And you do have 180 days. We only have 3 more meetings between now and September 13th, including September 13th. We asked to see the developer. He didn't come. We asked for TAC stuff. That still hasn't happened yet. A, and B, now I'm finding out you didn't even go to the meeting. We're hearing there's sheen in the environmental test pits. Don't know anything about that. Stormwater, nothing. You had an engineer that backed out, or for some other reason is no longer with us. You got a new one. He sent new stuff in. He's not here. We are now 3 meetings away from having to, by law, say thumbs up or thumbs down. And we are talking about an unsafe, way too large building that's going to be an absolute mess. This town has spent, and I'm going to say this as a private citizen, not as a member of the board, this town has spent $400 million on a new high school, $300 million on the Voc. You won't be able to get to them. And the fact that, I'm assuming there's no town council here again tonight. The fact that we are constituents I am a constituent, and the people that are talking here tonight are constituents. The fact that they have yet to show any interest in any of these meetings is appalling. That's all.
Mr. Chair, if I can address a couple of those points, because
Sure, Mr. Panos, I'll get back to you when I hear from
but
the
there were
rest of.
abject misrepresentations made.
Well, Mr.
and
Panos,
they need to be
Mr.
addressed.
Panos, you are not recognized right now. I'm talking to
Okay,
the
but
board. I will
Mr.
give you a
Feely was
chance to
wrong
speak.
on
I
all
don't
counts.
appreciate being interrupted. This isn't a free-for-all.
I don't appreciate being lied to, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Panos, the neighbors are quite frustrated too, and none of them butt into here. So why should I allow you? We're at a
think
discussion of the
that
board.
Pardon me.
Mr. Panos, enough,
Yeah.
enough. It's not a free-for-all, and you know better.
Lies need to be addressed.
You're acting like that's sophomoric.
It's not sophomoric. Being lied to by a
Mr.
board member
Panos,
is sophomoric.
don't make me mute you.
Okay.
You're out of line and you're out of order. And by the way, you deserve some of the frustration from this board, given your delays and everything else. Back to the board.
Given commensurate
to the board.
continuance.
No, actually you didn't, because the last thing wasn't commensurate with this board schedule. You said commensurate with this board, not the TAC. Your last delay should have considered the amount of time between the TAC meetings, not this board's meeting. So that's, talk about being inaccurate, that's inaccurate. So enough from you for now. I'm going back to the board, and I don't want to be interrupted again when we're talking amongst the board. Members of the board, sorry about that. Any other comments or questions?
None for tonight from me, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Panos, anything on substance? I really don't want a tit for tat with Mr. Feely. He feels the way he does. He made his comments. That's it.
He's entitled to his opinion, not his facts. We have nothing further. We'll be prepared on July 10th to give a thorough presentation on the civil, including stormwater and some of the other issues that came up. Runoff is obviously related to that, but it would be helpful, I think. We discussed this already, to have a pre-discussion to perhaps more focus the attention of the board and make it as productive as possible.
I will make myself available on July 8th. We'll have to link up schedules.
Sure.
If Mr. Tarbell can make it, that's great. If not, I understand it's a tough time of year.
It is.
With that, back to the
Tom,
board again.
Tom, I can make it July 8th. It needs to be in the evening after 7 p.m. after work. So I
After
can do
7?
7 p.m. I can do a 7 p.m. meeting. I can't do it during the day.
All right, I'll try to, I need to coordinate that. The town's policy is, even if there's only 2 of us, is to advertise those subcommittee meetings. I would tell the neighbors that all we're really gonna do, you're more than welcome to attend, but we're really gonna try to hone in on what the presentation is for the meeting on the 10th.
I don't want to get into the facts of the
Exactly.
civil, more like, how are we going to present it and how can it be most time you best used?
Exactly. We're going to discuss with Mr. Panos the best way to present and what the board's expectations are. And I've written down all the questions that that people have had, both members of the public and the board. I'll make sure that I remind Mr. Panos of those questions so they can be addressed on the 10th. Anything else, Dave? I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
I was just going to make a motion, but whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Anything else, Mr. Panos?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hatfield, I think we're well due for a motion here.
I would move that we continue this matter to our July 10th meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing, hearing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Panos, I'll be in touch about the timing in a Zoom link for July 8th.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Hope to see you then. Have a good beginning of summer.
Thank you. We'll see you on the 8th.
Yes.
Thanks. Good night.
All right, moving right along. Hopefully a little less contentious. 32 Nahant Street LLC, 32. Is Mr. Haverty here somewhere?
Mr. Chairman, Attorney Christopher Alphin covering for Attorney Haverty.
He must not like this board.
He
never
loves
shows
this
up.
board.
I think I want his job. He's on vacation more than anybody I've ever seen, and every other attorney has to cover for him. I think it's
no, that's not true. This is his favorite board. He's very remiss that he can't be here.
I'm sure he is.
Very upset, sure.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would also add that we have practically our entire development team here tonight. We have our traffic engineer, our architect, and our civil engineer. So I know that we left the last meeting off with, I know that there was some civil questions. The board wanted to see a context study, which we completed and we can present tonight. And I know the board might want to review traffic tonight. We did receive the memo from TAC, and we can do our best to try to address that memo, but we just received it a couple hours ago. So we might need to reserve our right to further formally address it. But whatever topic the board wants to talk about tonight, we're ready.
So with that,
we haven't seen the TAC report.
no, what
yet.
I was going to say, we got the TAC report with you at like 5 o'clock. We're not ready to discuss that at all. I've already been in touch with Lieutenant Anderson about bringing those folks to our July 10th meeting, so we can have your traffic engineer, the town's traffic engineer, the police department, the fire department, and our DPW present for that discussion. So we are not ready to discuss that tonight too. I'm also going to pull up a, if I can, I had a memo from town's DPW. Let me see if I can find that, where they don't have any information on the stormwater management. They're not ready to discuss it either. So I don't know how we're going to go over that subject matter either. Where our engineering department let me know today that they don't have anything, and they're waiting for a response from I guess it's Mr. Sparagis. I don't want to put it on him if it's not his fault, but
Mr. Chair, for the record, Chris Sparagis, you can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, sure can.
Yep. So the stormwater report with the comprehensive permit was submitted when the comprehensive permit was filed with the town.
All right, hold on one second. Then I'm going to look up this. And excuse the delay here, but that's not the information that I have. Gail, can you help me out here? Did we get a memo from town engineering tonight?
Yes, we did. I don't have it. I forwarded it to everybody. It came in late this afternoon. And they did say that they did not have the stormwater report.
That's correct. So whether it's a misunderstanding or not, Mrs. Sparagis, I don't think we can go forward with the civil engineering unless other folks on the board want to hear it. I want the town engineering department to be weighing in here to provide the appropriate support for this board on that subject matter.
Yeah, just to answer your question, Mr. Lucy, Mr. Chair, we've already presented the project. We've done a full presentation on civil, including stormwater, and since that first presentation, we received comments from your board and from TAC, and we've responded to those comments. So my understanding is that we're down to just a couple of comments here. So this is new.
Have you received anything from engineering?
No, I'm not
No,
moving
it was my understanding that it's a very simple stormwater design. It's my understanding that there weren't any comments.
They'd at least send you that back. Do you have have you had any correspondence with them regarding, I mean, you've been through these before. You usually have meetings with Bill and his team, and there's back and forth, and there's a finality of it.
Yeah, we've been talking since our site visit with Mass Housing. With Bill, I didn't even know that he had any concerns.
So again, Ms. Sparagus, I'm not casting blame or dispersion. It might be a misunderstanding here, but there's no way this board's moving forward without the okay and some comments from our town engineers to make. We're not doing that tonight. We got to clear this up. And
well, what I don't understand, Mr. Chair, is what is there to clear up? We've already done our presentation.
Mrs. Sparagus, why are you being argumentative? I don't have the clearance from the town engineer. I don't know how more clearly I can state that to you. Until we have that.
Here, would you like, Tom, I have it. Would you like me to read it?
Please do.
The DPW Engineering Division previously performed a review of the October 24th, 2023 Board of Appeals application for the above referenced project. The application was submitted by 32 Nahant Street LLC and included the following documents. Application for a comprehensive permit for 32 Nahant Street prepared by Blattman, Bobrowski, Haverty, and Silverstein LLC, dated October 23rd, 2023. We offer the following comments. The engineering division hasn't received any additional information regarding revised plans or the stormwater report requested in the previous memo dated November 14th, 2023. Without detailed plans and the stormwater report, the engineering division doesn't have enough information to accurately review the project and provide additional recommendations beyond the previous memo. That was received on 6/26/24 from Tim Wilson, CC to William Renault.
So Dave, thank you for finding it. Chip, thank you for finding it. Thank you for sharing your screen, Dave. You're quicker than me. So Mrs. Sparagus, I don't know, again, when I tell you something and the board tells you something, we're not making it up, right?
No, I'm not suggesting that. It's just a little frustrating when we, I thought that the process is to submit stuff to your office, and then from your office, it gets disseminated to the various departments. But if that's not the protocol, then I don't have a problem sending stuff directly to Mr. Renault. You tell us how you'd like us to handle that.
Your initial application and plans get distributed, but then after that, that's up to you. If something changes with the engineering department, you're supposed to submit that to them.
Okay, so understood. We will submit things directly to the engineering department, and hopefully we can have engineering to engineering conversations and button that up.
Right. That's all we're asking. That's what we stated at the beginning of this. I don't know how it went sideways here. It was pretty clear.
And Chris has done numerous projects in this town. He knows how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a presentation, but there are
it's surprising.
Right. There are peer review, right? We got a presentation, but we need to hear from them. They're the peer review they're the experts. So they need to have that conversation. And
I don't know if there's, there's like a full moon or something with these development teams tonight. I don't know what the hell's going on. All right. So with that, Mr. Alphen, is there anything else, since we're not discussing the engineering or the traffic?
Again, for the record, we're prepared to talk about anything. I know that there's been some revisions. I don't know if the board wants to hear those revisions. If not, we do have a contact study that the board asked for that we can at least present at this point in time.
Love to see that.
Yeah, that's something that we can view. So please move forward with that.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll share my screen.
Please do.
We worked closely with Phoenix Architects on this site context plan, and it's something that will look familiar to the board. We've done similar plans in the past. And you should see that in just a couple of seconds here. Does everyone see that on their screen?
Yes.
Yep.
So I'm happy to zoom in, but let me just first start by just showing you the neighborhood and how the plan is set up. We have an aerial view in the center rectangular space here. Our site is in the center of this plan right here at 32-32A, and then the adjoining property at 36. So this is the project site, the locus, if you will. And you can see Nahant Street north is essentially up the plan to the top of the plan, and you can see where the fork in the road is at Franklin Street down to the east here. And so for each of the properties in the neighborhood, east and west of us, and then on the south side of the road, directly across from our property, and then east and west of those properties, what we did is we brought up a street view, identifying the height and showing you an elevation view of each of the structures as you're going up and down the street to the left and to the right. And I'm happy to zoom into any part of the plan to sort of walk us through the neighborhood, or I can stay at this scale.
No, why don't you zoom down and walk us through the neighborhood?
Okay. All right. So starting, if I were to just zoom in here to the center of the plan, you can see the locus and the white lines that are a little bit in the background here. These are approximate property lines from the assessor's map. Okay. And this is the site locus, and you can see our proposed building with a roof height of plus or minus 35 feet. So let's start head towards the high school, if you will, to the east. At number 40, we have this structure here that has a roof height of approximately 32 feet. At this location here, coming down the street a little bit further, this is a 1 to 1.5 story building with a roof height of only 22 feet at number 42 Nahant Street. 46 is set back a little bit. It's a two-story structure, residential building, roof height approximately 34 feet. To the right of that is looks like a small cape, 1.5 stories with a roof height of approximately 22 feet. Now heading back in the other direction on our side of the street, here we are again, and then heading west, number 30, next door to us here, 1.5 story structure at approximately 22 feet high. And then number 26, we have a cape with a sloped roof here, approximate roof height of 22 feet, again, 1.5 stories. Number 22 is another small cape, approximately 22 foot roof height. Coming back to our locus, if we were to come across the street, and if I just zoomed out a little bit so we can see the pictures, which are set back a little bit further. So directly across the street from our locus is number 35, which is a two-story structure. And the two-story part back here has a relatively shallow roof. So we're at a roof height of 30 feet plus or minus at number 35. And then heading east, 39 Nahant Street, we have a 1.5 story building. You can see the mansard roof, which is a similar architectural feature to ours on that second story, roof height approximately 24 feet. And then number 29, at 29 Franklin Street, this house actually fronts on Franklin Street. It backs up to Nahant, so you can't really see it from the street. But this roof height is approximately 24 feet for this home. And then on the corner here, on this corner lot, which has an address of 47 Nahant Street, we have a roof height of approximately 26 feet here. It's a 1.5 to 2 story structure. And then heading to the west, here's our locus again, across the street, heading west, number 31 Nahant Street. We have a roof height for this structure. It looks like it's been added on to. It's relatively recently. That looks like relatively new construction. That roof height is approximately 34 feet. And then next to that one is a smaller footprint home at number 27, but it does have some pretty good height to it at 28 feet, approximate roof height, 28 feet. And then we ended our analyses at 25 Nahant Street, where we have a 1.5 to 2-story home at roof height approximately 24 feet. I'll just bring us back to the center of the plan here and zoom out a little bit. That was the extent of the site context study. The lot areas and the building footprints are taken from Mass GIS data. The Mass GIS data, should be considered approximate only, and the roof elevations were compiled from the town of Wakefield electronic data that's available at the assessor's office, together with Google Earth elevation data.
Okay, comments and questions from the board?
Didn't see it. Did you guys do any sort of cut through, if you may, like you would a building where you show your height you're at 35 and all these other houses at 22 or 24, just from a streetscape standpoint, or just the overhead?
So
I
this,
can answer,
yeah, go
I
ahead,
can answer
Andrew. I'm
that,
sorry.
Chris.
Yep.
Andrew Jones, Phoenix Architects. Chip, yeah, we have a streetscape showing the house to the left and right, so number 30 and also 40. I can pull it up if you'd like to see it. It's from last presentation.
I remember that. I just didn't know if you then extended it to all these houses as well.
No, we haven't as of yet.
I mean, the thing that jumped out at me most, Mr. Chairman, and I'd love to see Andrews, but to just remind us of it, but at 35 feet, the majority of these houses were anywhere from 28 to 22 feet, which put this building almost 12 to 14 feet taller than the surrounding buildings, other than a few that were in the low 30s. Yeah, so what's the building to the height to the right? That was, I think,
Chris,
one of the
was that
smaller
32
ones,
or
right?
34?
That was at 34, I think.
So that one to the right was 32 feet approximately.
32. Yeah, which looks about right considering yours is 35. And the one to the left
was about approximately 22.
Right. So if we look at this, we kind of understand how tall you are compared to the other 22s, and there were a majority of them were 22, 24. So that's all I wanted to kind of understand, is that yeah, that's it. That there are very few that are equal. Well, none are equal to. So even the ones that are closest are a few feet less.
Okay, anybody else? Well, the only other thing that struck me, Andrew, is that the length of your building is what compared to most of these single family homes? Again, it's the length along the street is, the massing is much different. Chip talked about the height, how the height's different on some of them, but just the street frontage of the buildings themselves are dramatically different.
Yeah, Tom, I agree with you. I don't think the height's the issue. I think it's even under what's allowed, right? So it's
Right
more
on the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not even looking for relief on that. So that's not the issue. I think it's just that width we were having a problem with that left side, which I'll bring up again.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, is there anything else you wanted to present tonight, Mr. Alphen?
If the board would like to present, has any questions or want us to present on a specific topic, we're happy to do so. Like I said, we have our entire development here. But what I'm hearing from Mr. Chairman is that you're waiting for some peer review back, which is understandable, and then that's fine. But we are ready to present on any topic you want us to present on.
Yeah, we're not ready. We're not prepared to discuss things that the town subject matter experts haven't weighed in on. No. So board members, if there's nothing else, I'm going to open it up to public comment.
Is there anything else that's new or changed? I guess he keeps saying they're prepared to discuss anything, but What has changed since our last meeting that we haven't already heard tonight? We'd want to know about anything that's changed. Architecturally, site, if the engineers are here, what has changed?
Yep, I would love to go over a couple of things if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, if there's changes, I agree with Dave.
Okay. There were a couple of comments that came up at the last public hearing where we did our presentation on civil site. Mr. Tarbell asked us with regard to our utility plan, if it's okay, I'll share my screen again.
Please do.
Yep. Mr. Tarbell asked how he had noticed that we showed our utility connection to a utility pole that was directly in front of our site. And he asked if that was the way that we were going to be powering our building. So what I said was that I would follow up with Wakefield Gas and Light, and we have a good working relationship with Vincent McMahon. He prefers Vinny. I reached out to Vinny since the last time we got together, and he did get a chance to review the plan in detail. And I'm going to go to our landscaping plan just to kind of show you what Vinny talked to me about. He did explain that there is plenty of power along Nahan Street, but that because of the nature of the building and the amount of electrical need, that it would make the most sense to have a transformer pad on the ground for this building. And he gave me 4 recommended locations. And I just wanted to run that by the board tonight so that maybe we can get some feedback on how you feel about the location. So because the lines obviously run along the street, the 2 locations that are most preferable to Wakefield Gas and Light is this landscape island out here, or this landscape island here. The other 2 alternatives would be this landscape island a little bit inside the site here, or back in this area here. And so I wanted to ask the board members through you, Mr. Chair, if there was a preference, or if we can work with Vinny to come up with what makes the most sense, in terms of, running utilities and that sort of thing.
No, I think what you're going to hear from board members is that they don't want to see it from the street. The ones on the side, I'd be concerned about the impact on the abutter. So my initial reaction is that back island, but I'd be glad to hear from other board members.
Agreed. We don't want to see it from the street. We never do, even though it's more convenient for them, but it's an eyesore. Let's put it in the back of the building. Or try to, if they agree.
Yeah, and I don't want it to impact an abutter sightline.
Well, we have a fence over there. Is that, so it would be
How high
behind
is the fence?
Yes, we have a proposed fence along both of our property lines, east and west, privacy fence, if you will, 6 foot high.
How big is the transformer?
So it's going to be roughly 7 by 7, 7 by 8, that rough footprint. So we'll need about 10 to 12 feet in order to put the bollards the way Wakefield Gas and Light likes to place them for protection around the transformer pad.
What about in terms of height?
Height off of the ground.
Yeah, sitting on top of the pad.
Yeah, so sitting on top of the pad for this setup, you're only talking a couple 2 to 3 feet above the ground surface.
Okay.
So
What about noise impacts for that abutter?
For the transformer itself, there should be none. Now, sometimes there's a requirement for some switching gear. I don't think this building is big enough to need additional equipment like that, but I'll ask Vinny that question and report back to you.
Yeah, we don't want any visual or noise impacts on the abutter.
So if I'm hearing you right, Mr. Chair, this location might be okay if we have a visual screening and we don't have a noise issue.
Yeah, if other board members agree, I'm only one voice here.
Well, Mr. Sparagus, you know about sound attenuation, right?
Yes.
Done on other projects. We'd like to see some of that.
For the transformer?
For the transformer, the switching gear, but you know what it is. Nobody wants to hear that.
Okay.
So there are ways to make it so.
Yeah, I'm not sure the transformers make a whole lot of noise. Every now and then you get a little hum, but I'm not in favor of losing any of those landscaping spots. So I think the best spot is somewhere in the back of the building. My preference would be right next to in the landscaping area next to the dumpsters. And I don't mean our Wakefield Municipal Light and Gas Department any due respect, but they would prefer the transformer to be at the front door if they could put it there. So I think back by the dumpster is kind of the right spot.
Well, I think we should get a size of it too. We should get the, the right dimensions of it. If it's real small, then that might change things. If it's huge, then yeah, in the back would make more sense.
Yeah, I defer to Ms. Tarbell on that.
Okay, we're gonna need, we're definitely gonna need a 12-foot wide area to support the transformer pad and the bollards, according to Vinnie.
Oh, that's pretty big.
Well, you have to envision that the bollards stick out. They like to have them like 2 to 3 feet away from the transformer pad, so that's why it's not that big. But the bollards, will create a space that will be that big.
So that backspace looks like it's big enough to accommodate that.
That's why I would push it back next to the dumpster.
Good point.
All right, we'll work on that then.
Do you think you'll lose that tree back there?
I'm not going to lose any trees. I'm gonna either move it a little bit, which I think it makes the most sense. I'll slide it back or find a new spot for it. But I don't want to. We've added more trees since the first and a lot more vegetation since the last time we got together, which is another topic I wanted to quickly cover. It was another topic, another comment from Mr. Tarbell at our last meeting, where there was a concern that maybe we needed to spend a little bit more time and focus on balancing our landscaping plan with additional perennial plantings and shrub plantings. And we did just that, especially in areas that are high visibility. So out in the front here, you'll notice that we've created some additional planting beds for perennials and for shrubs that work together with the trees that we've proposed all around these areas here without compromising that site triangle that we talked about last time. That was a concern that came out of the Traffic Advisory Committee. We've removed any shrubs and tall grasses from the site triangle that's created by drawing a triangle that starts with the pointy part, if you will, 14.5 feet in from the gutter line, and then looking left and right out of our entrance so that someone leaving the site doesn't have any interference from vegetation or other things. So we've beefed up our landscaping, and then I took another look at the whole site and added even additional shrub plantings and groupings across both the rear of the site to the north and to the west here. So we beefed up that quite a bit. I just wanted to point that out. So it was the transformer pad, the landscaping, and
Chris, is the the vertical granite curbing called out anywhere?
So on our layout plan is where we call out materials like that. And so what we're proposing on this project, Mr. Tarbell, is bituminous curbing.
Yeah. You know better.
Well, I know that you folks have requested, different types of curbing in the past on these types of projects. Cost is a consideration. And that's one of the driving forces behind our selection in this case, I'll be honest. I don't know if there's somewhere we can meet in the middle. This is not a very big site, but it's a big cost item.
Well, I'll just add that we don't call for different types of curb. We always call for the one that's standard for what this board does. So it's how you've been here. Yeah. You've been here many times before, Mr. Sparagus. How you come in with that and expect.
On other 40B projects, we've used other materials in addition to granite roundings. That's why
addition to, maybe you can get away with something, but to have none of it on site isn't going to happen.
Okay, well, let me go
And you're
back.
right, it is a
Go back
small
to the drawing
project,
board
so
on that one.
it's a small project, so the delta should be de minimis.
Yeah, I'll definitely review it with the property owner, and we'll come back with something better than what you see here.
That would be good.
Okay.
Chris, I got a
Yeah,
quick question on I got a quick question on the landscape, if you want to go back to that.
sure.
The very front of the building, you want to zoom in. So isn't it supposed to be now crushed stone in the front without, does that ornament grasses and trees and all that, does that have mulch there, or is that going to be crushed stone?
So those details are sometimes not captured on this level of plan at this time, but you're absolutely right, Mr. Pride. This is going to be set in crushed stone within a certain number of inches of the foundation of the building. Absolutely.
All right, just checking. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll end by apologizing, Mr. Chair. I did get angry earlier, and that's not like me, but now I know why. So maybe I'll explain. You know, here's the reason why. The plan has changed, but our if you go back in time, we started at 32 units, right? And we eliminated floor off the building, so that didn't change anything on the ground per se. And then we eliminated that went from 32 to 26, I believe, and now we've knocked down the project to 24, and that the footprint changed a little bit, and I think we have less impervious surface now than we did before. But we didn't change anything stormwater related, even though I probably could have made it a little bit smaller. So that's why I am like, it didn't change. I don't understand. But I think I need to explain that to Bill. So I apologize, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, well, as you can imagine, I can only go by what the letter I get from town engineering.
Yep. But you should know that it hasn't changed. So if anything, we kept it conservative by not changing it. But I'll explain that to Bill, and hopefully he'll report back to you.
Okay. We'll wait to
Mickey.
hear. We'll
Sorry.
wait to hear from him. Go ahead, Mickey. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's me, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I thought
Oh,
you were
sorry,
done.
Dave.
Sorry to interrupt. Well, right on this, my notes say we are down to 24 units. This says 26.
Yep, that's a mistake on our plan, Mr. Hatfield. I apologize.
No worries. I just don't know if it's just a typo on this one. It just hopefully we
Yep.
get
Yeah.
everything
Is it
cleaned up consistently. Yep.
Is
Yeah,
it
that-
23, 24?
It's 24.
It's 24. Per my notes.
Yeah.
Hopefully 22 soon.
With amenity space, I really would like to know if they're seriously going to consider any amenity space other than a couple of benches. We've met many times, they've never actually said if they're going to consider trying to find a way to do that, because that would obviously mean doing something to the size of the building, moving it, reducing it. Otherwise, it would just. And then the balcony choices were some Juliet, right? Some full. Like, we're not even giving some folks a full balcony to, if they don't have outdoor space, give them a balcony, right? So I don't know.
We
Anyway.
did give some balconies. I think we were trying to be, think about the neighbors and not having balconies facing either the street. So you'll see most of them are facing towards the back where there's no homes or residences. So that was kind of the design choice there. But if you'd like to see more, we could definitely look.
No, I understand moving, not overlooking neighbors. That could be disconcerting, but I get that. But again, it's just like to bring it to closure. That the applicant's going to consider some sort of additional outdoor amenity space, or they're not. It just keeps coming up, and we just don't really close on it. So, be good to get an answer one way or another. They're going to make a change to accommodate something, or they're not, and we're going to vote on what we're seeing today potentially, unless it continues to evolve after traffic and everything else.
So.
Okay. Anything else, board members? Mr. Alfred, I'll make one more note. your colleague last time, and I got into it because we were talking about size of the project, and he brought up the pro forma. I'm hearing from Mrs. Sparagus that the curbing now is this. If you're gonna make the pro forma an essential part of the piece of evidence for this project, you need to present it to the board. Otherwise, don't bring it up. I understand in 40B, we can't put undue conditions on you that make it unfinanceable and but otherwise, I really don't want to hear it. The neighbors don't want to hear it. Don't make it a central fact in this case unless you're ready to present it. There are people on this board that could read the pro forma just fine. So if you want to do that, keep bringing it up. Otherwise, we don't want to hear it.
Okay, noted. And I would note that a pro forma is a public record and part of the mass housing application. So the town has a copy of our pro forma if anybody wants to take a look.
Yeah, but not with these changes and not what we've talked about. That was part of your initial filing, right? So we got that. So it has changed. So tonight, everyone's just a little bit pushing around the edges here.
No, not at all. It's fine.
All right. Anything else from the board? Okay, members of the public. First hand I see up is Carl and Allison Jana.
Hi, Carl Jana, 21 Hart Street. The most recent traffic meeting, I appreciate that the 32 Hart Street team is here tonight. I posed a question at the last traffic meeting. I know that the parking spot in the back left-hand corner on the plan shows as far as deliveries, mail and such. And I had a question at the time that wasn't answered, and rightfully so. I was wondering where the mailboxes actually are in the building.
Mr. Chair, I can show that if you'd like.
Please do.
Here. Okay. Do you see the screen right now?
I do.
We can.
So this is the architectural, so it doesn't show really the site context, but the delivery parking spot is somewhere where my cursor is in the left-hand corner here. You drive in, this is one side of the parking, there's another side of the parking, it's in the corner. So the delivery person would come out, walk through here, walk through the back, come into the door, and then the mailroom is placed strategically right off the back of the building.
Excellent, thank you. At the same time, we also had a question in regards to the, and again, this was traffic related, that obviously there's one driveway in and out of the building. Traffic is terrible there. Coming out of the driveway, if you're going to take a right, great. But if you're going to take a left, not so great, because now you have traffic coming two ways. When it's backed up, if there's a car to your right, you're going to take left, you're not going to be able to see anything. There was a concern of, or a question of maybe putting a box there. But if you put a box there now, just about a football field away to the right-hand side of the building per your plans, or about the length of the building on the other project down the street on the Hart Street, you're going to have, I don't know how many cars coming out of there. So there's a lot of concern for a lot of traffic, which both of these, in my opinion, both of these are obviously way too big for this. You're adding so many cars to the area, and that was my concern. So, and I brought that up at the time. So I voiced my concern, but and there was an answer. It was answered, and I'm not sure if it was who it was from, but I'm sure I can go back and look and listen to the meeting. But one of the answers to the question was this is not marketed towards a certain clientele. Was not in quotes, but around that. And I didn't get to reply to that. And I'm wondering, it's marketed to what clientele? Are we saying that this is marketed towards a clientele that they're not going to have cars and there won't be that many? And so I'm not sure who from the 32 Hart Street team was there for that ACT meeting, for the traffic meeting, I'm sorry, and what that meant. Because it'd be a bit presumptuous to say, hey, we're marketing this towards somebody that, what, they don't have cars?
Mr. Alphen, anyone want to respond?
We have our traffic engineer, I don't know, on the call. I don't know if he was at the meeting. I'm not quite sure what he's referring to.
Right, but it wasn't an engineer. It was somebody from the team. and I'm wondering what that meant.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Scott Thornton with Vanessa Associates, we did the traffic for the 32 Nahant Street project. I was at that meeting. I don't recall, that comment. You know, again, maybe it's in the record. I don't recall it. I don't recall
do.
that being voiced.
I do. So, and I'm curious as to what that meant. Is there a marketing team person here that would be able to maybe say what it's marketed towards?
No, we
You know,
don't
how
have
to be team?
marketing team folks.
There isn't. Okay, so that was, you know, I'm wondering what it's marketed towards. And to say,
Alright.
there's a bit
So-
of confusion to me.
So Mr. Alphen, if Mr. Haggerty was at the meeting, you know, this is something we'll loop back to. We're gonna hear from the traffic again at the July 10th meeting. So we can bring that up, Mr. Jana, at that meeting as well.
Yeah, so I'm just, I guess I'm wondering if, you know, marketing is part of the traffic or marketing is part of the 32 Nahant Street team.
Mr. Chair, I can say marketing is not part of the traffic.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jana. Miss Marie Olivera.
Hi, I just want to throw in, as a reminder to you folks that Nahant Street's designated as a no truck street. So on top of all of this, we're gonna have a ton more trucks. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Again, we'll be discussing traffic at the July 10th meeting. So if you can hold your comments to that meeting, that would be helpful. Victoria Turner?
Yeah, again, 16 Wilson Road. First, I do really appreciate that the size of this development has decreased. So thank you at least for that. But the lack of green space does still concern me. The lack of outdoor area for any of the residents who will be living there concerns me. Also, presumably we're adding children, and the fact that the children wouldn't have anywhere to be, and then they might be playing in some of the green spaces that are so close to Nahant Street, which is such a dangerous road, concerns me. So I really would like to see green space added, not right on front, not just landscaping, but an outdoor spot for residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen McMaster?
Hi, am I unmuted?
You are.
Okay, 25 Nahant across the street. So despite the size of it, there's still nothing that size on the street. Next to it, across the street, I think we can all clearly see that. I have concerns it's the worst location ever for backup. You're gonna have a dumpster come in and out of there. I don't see how the dumpster is gonna go in and out. It's gonna have to back onto the street or pull. How is it gonna get in? That's a big concern because we just had somebody move out of the neighborhood and they had somebody pick up a pod and they had to back down into the driveway and they had the whole street tied up for a good 20 minutes, which was a nightmare. People were going on the sidewalk, etc. People, when there's traffic in this area, have no care for concern for anybody. Again, I'm not going to get into traffic. I'm concerned with how the dumpster is going to go in and out. I'm concerned where all the delivery trucks are going to pull in. They cannot pull on the sidewalk. Is there one space and how many deliveries? I honestly, it's not a pop-up tent. When this building is completed and if it's signed off on and this happens, we're stuck here unless we decide to move. We can't just say it's not working and take down the tent. So, I mean, again, you guys know we're all passionate. There's still 30 plus neighbors that are on this. This is changing our neighborhood. This is something that's it might not decrease my property value, but it is not going to increase it by far. It's going to make it worse because nobody wants to look at that. The poor neighbor down the street just invested $900,000 and finds out that he's gonna have this monstrosity built up across from him. How fair is that? I don't know. Would you want to live here? Would you want that to be built across from you? Just think about that for a minute and then understand how passionate we are. So when you talk about your cost and this and that and everything else, I mean, insulting, just really insulting. That's really it. I hate to go on passion, but 50 years here and I'm kind of stuck here for a few more years. This is just so wrong because there's nothing like this on this street. And if it wasn't for 40B, this wouldn't be happening. It's a really, really crappy loophole. Thank you.
Yep. Karen, I'll just remind you that site circulation is part of traffic, so
Yeah,
that
I
will
do
be
know that.
addressed when it comes up on July 10th. We'll talk.
Yep, thank
and
you.
truck movement on the site, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing, seeing none, back to the board. Pleasure of the board.
Ready for a motion?
I think, well, before we do the motion, let's just be clear what we're expecting for the July 10th meeting, so we can give this development team some clear direction. Mr. Alphen, I think that it's clear that we're going to, I'm working with the Traffic Advisory Committee to get those members here. So if Mr. Thornton could be here, I think that would be an important part of the discussion. We can go over that traffic study. And then I will be in touch with the town engineer. I'm sure Mrs. Sparagus will be too, so we can see where we stand with that as well. Those are two important matters that we'll need to resolve. So at the very least, we'll be ready to talk about that.
Understood.
Back to you, Dave. I think we're ready for that now.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue this hearing to our July 10th meeting.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing, hearing none. Regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you for your presentations tonight. We'll see you on July 10th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to new hearings. And with that, I'm going to, at the discretion of the chair, there's a bunch of matters that are all related, that are all applications for party aggrieved regarding a building inspector decision. I know there's a couple of different attorneys that represent these four cases, it looks like. I'm wondering if you guys are okay with if we bring them all up together. I'd rather have one discussion and then dispose of them individually as a vote after just having the one discussion. Mr. McGrail, Mr. McCarthy, you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are. We've discussed it and we're fine with that, Mr. Chair. If this came up,
Okay.
we're in sync.
Okay, so we're on to new hearings then. Case 244450 Bartley LLC located at 50 Bartley Street. 2445 36 Elm Street. 2446 at 16 Bryant. And 2447 at 20 Avon Street. I think that captures them all, gentlemen.
It does,
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
So if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to start. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail and then Attorney McCarthy and I have worked on this together. I'm going to introduce my clients who I represent in this matter. He will introduce his, and then I am going to take the lead on the presentation, and then Mike will add in as needed, if that's okay with you.
That sounds fine. Please proceed.
So for the record, Attorney Brian McGrail, with offices at 607 North Ave in Wakefield, representing 50 Bartley LLC, the owners of property at 50 Bartley Street, Sarah Jane Mullins, Tamara M. Mullins, and Robert L. Mullins Jr., owner of properties at 36 Elm Street, Rifiante, Arafin France, and William France, owners of property at 16 Bryant Street.
Mr. Chairman, Michael McCarthy with offices at 1 Center Street. I have the pleasure tonight of representing 20 Avon Street Irrevocable Trust, and John McDonald is the trustee of that trust. And it relates to 20 Avon Street in Wakefield.
Okay, I'm going to start the presentation by saying that Attorney McCarthy and I come in peace tonight. Yeah, so
That's a relief.
Yeah, so and we're here, I think, to really rectify a discrepancy with the building inspector, who I think, you know, after talking to him, really doesn't have some of the historic knowledge that goes back on the subject matter of these hearings. Basically, I want to start by saying that all 4 of these properties are located in the general residence district. 2 of my clients are 2-family houses. One of the units is occupied by either the owner or a family member, and the other unit is the one that is rented out. So they actually reside on the property. The other one of my clients at 50 Bartley, that's a single-family home, although it's in a general residence district where 2-family houses are allowed. They do not reside there, and they rent that property out. And Attorney McCarthy's property representing McDonald at 20 Avon, that is a 2-family house, and is also family members of John McDonald that live in one of the units there, and one of the units are rented out. So there's very hands-on management going on with these properties, which I think is important and interesting for the board to know. And the 4 Wakefield property owners and taxpayers have filed their individual applications with your board to defend what we believe is their legal right to rent their properties, as is currently allowed pursuant to the Wakefield zoning bylaw. In an effort to resolve the issue of the legality of Airbnb type rentals in Wakefield before your board, it's my understanding, after speaking with him, that the building inspector issued a cease and desist letter to these 4 property owners after being contacted by, I think it was one individual that had an interest, although I don't think an abutter to any of these 4 property owners who rent their properties using the Airbnb website or similar platforms, and ordering the building inspector, ordering them to stop doing so because it constituted a violation of the Wakefield zoning bylaw. As I mentioned, I have 3 of the property owners. Attorney McCarthy has the other, and their appeal of the building inspector's cease and desist letter is to your board. This is not new with these properties. I can speak that I know at least one of my clients has been doing this for 10 years with no issues. Another 7, another one, I think the other 2, Attorney McCarthy's client and one of my other clients, might be a couple of years, but this isn't like somebody started doing this a month ago, which generated this complaint. Attorney McCarthy and I have had an opportunity to spend significant time together to review the building inspector's cease and desist letters in detail. And we've made the determination that they're reliant on a misinterpretation of the provisions of the Wakefield zoning bylaw. And the interpretation is very important, and we think it's clear. I spoke with Building Inspector DeCristoforo regarding Attorney McCarthy and my interpretation in our reasoning for the same. And at the end of the day, we all agreed that it was best to have your board rule on the matter to provide clarity and certainty for all stakeholders, including the building department going forward. So when he gets calls on this, or Gail gets calls, they have a direction from your board on how you've ruled on this. It's important to note that the building inspector is vested with the initial responsibility for interpreting and enforcing the zoning bylaw. Persons aggrieved by the building inspector's interpretation are allowed to appeal that interpretation to your board, and that is pursuant to Mass General Laws 40A, Section 8, and our zoning bylaw, Article 10, Section 19065. Your board makes the final determination, and that's why we're here. Our clients have exercised their rights pursuant to the statute and our bylaw to be here. And I think it's important, as I know your board is aware, so I respectfully say this for the benefit of the public, this is not a special permit with discretionary standards. that's before you here tonight. The fact that somebody might not like an Airbnb rental type platform or has issues with them is not relevant for the case before you whatsoever. Not relevant at all. All that matters here is the law, which Attorney McCarthy and I believe on its face is clearly in favor of our clients. It's important to start with the fact that Airbnb rentals have a long history in Wakefield, or Airbnb type rentals. I use the word Airbnb because that's the term that we all know, but there are other platforms that are used. So Airbnb type rentals have a long history in Wakefield and well before the current building inspector's tenure commenced. So, and I've had this discussion with him, so he's not really privy to the history of this and maybe what's happened with this 10 years ago or so. Specifically, and extremely relevant to this situation, in response to some of the issues relating to Airbnb type rentals at that time, Article 9 at the November 2015 town meeting sought to amend our zoning bylaw to address what was deemed to be ambiguities in the bylaw by defining short-term rental as less than 30 days and to limit and/or control Airbnb type rentals by requiring a special permit for them. That zoning article failed at town meeting. It did not pass. And I'd like to share that if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
Please do.
So this is an excerpt from the annual 2015 annual town report. And you'll notice Article 9. This is the November town meeting. This article was initiated by the Board of Selectmen at the time. A motion was made by the town planner, Paul Rivas, who was an advocate of this at the time, followed by a presentation. And it was to amend the zoning bylaw. And as you'll see, it created a use called accessory lodging unit in the single residence of general residence district, and it required a special permit in the single residence and general residence district. And importantly, what it did is, if you look at down here where I've highlighted, it defined accessory lodging unit, the lease or rental for a period of not less than 30 days, a period of less than 30 days. So that's really where they define short term. Or tried to define short term is the whole of any portion of the dwelling, regardless of whether the owner leases or tenant remains in the dwelling during the rental period. And please note that at that time, as you'll see below, the motion was seconded. The planning board's recommendation to town meeting was negative. The planning board voted to voted a negative recommendation, disapproval. And the vote at town meeting was 104 to 91. 104 in favor, 91 against. And as you note, it was stated motion failed, a 2/3 vote required to pass. Now, 10 years later, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If somebody needs to see this, I can bring it back up. But now 10 years later, to issue an order declaring that Airbnb type rentals are completely illegal under our zoning bylaw is contradictory to that effort in 2015. And as I will detail in my presentation, it is also contradictory to the terms of our zoning bylaw as it stands today. What happens is it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole in order for someone who just decides they don't want to have an Airbnb type rental to not have it. And it's important to note that the only thing before your consideration tonight, is the content of the cease and desist letter from the building inspector to all of our clients, which is verbatim the same, in relation to the history that I just mentioned in the existing zoning bylaw. So, really the four corners of the building inspector's letter, that's what's before you, what he has stated in that letter. And for you to determine if it's accurate and or if it should be overturned, which we think it should. So with that said, Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring up that letter because of the significance of it. I'm going to go through it in detail.
Please do.
Okay, so this is the letter that all of the parties received from the building inspector, dated the same. And I think where we start is, and this is kind of a real fatal part of it, as you note, the records of the assessors, and this references 50 Botley because that was to that property. Review of the Airbnb website discloses that you are offering to make the premises in whole and part available for lodging purposes on a short-term rental basis. Well, guess what? Our bylaw does not define short-term. 2015, we tried to define it at town meeting. It failed. Nobody wanted to put any limits. So it didn't pass. So what is short-term? Can I do 2 weeks? Is that okay? Can I do a month? Can I do 2 days? What's short-term? There is no definition to go by on that. And what's interesting is, I could argue short-term is 30 days. A 30-day tenancy at will is, when people rent, typically lease their properties. If they don't have a signed lease, it's a tenancy at will on a 30-day basis. I could argue if this letter were correct, that's illegal under our bylaw. So that's a fatal problem with this because it's too subjective, and you can't hold somebody to something that's not definable. If you look at the definition in the dictionary, because short term is not defined in our bylaw, it says occurring involving a relatively short period of time, of or relating to or constituting financial operation obligation based on a brief term, and especially one of less than a year, generated, and one says less than 6 months. So it's all over the road, and that's why usually bylaws that will regulate this type of use will put a definition, which we don't have. So the other thing is you go down, which I think really is more kind of, more, for lack of a better term, evidence of kind of the struggle to get the square peg into the round hole. Notice in the letter, and I've highlighted this, under zoning law, such a use would either be a hotel use or a lodging or rooming house use. Well, this is evidence, I think, of the struggle of the building inspector. So he really can't even classify what it is or what he thinks it might be. To say to somebody, hey, your use is it, well, yeah, that's something that you would be able to say it's this. But that shows the discrepancy in our bylaw and the ambiguity that was tried to clear up that the town did not want to get into back in 2015. So no one, including our client, should be subject to having property rights taken away when there's uncertainty. And certainly that this is clear evidence that there's uncertainty because you're giving different options of what it might be. In any event, let's examine why, even if both of these, if we go with either one, why either of these uses are not applicable to what our clients are currently doing with their property and what they're being accused of as far as violating the bylaw. So I'm going to start with hotel. And I've got to share my screen again. Well, clearly, we don't believe that the renting of a house or a unit for any term, whether it's a day or a month or longer, is a hotel. We all know what a hotel is. Hotel is Sheraton Hotel. Hotel is Lakeside Inn. Hotel is not a house. which all of our clients have. And the reason I put this up is, again, hotel is not defined in our bylaw. There's no specific definition. But what I'm doing here is, it is referenced in our bylaw, and I want to show you how, and this really bolsters my argument that it's not meant to be a house. The first thing it does is it's referenced ironically in lodging a rooming house, which I'll get to in a bit. But it says, when you look at the definition of lodging a rooming house, it says a lodging house shall not include, so that's not a hotel. So that creates a little bit more confusion because it's, it specifically says that a lodging, a rooming house is not a hotel. So that's the first area it's referenced in our bylaw. The second area is in the table of uses, hotel intended for occupation of transients. And you got to look at the context of that. Doesn't define transients, but again, I think we all know what a hotel is. And then this is kind of really the interesting thing, where it says this really deals with the accessory uses that are in hotels: restaurant, newsstand, drugstore, barber shop, or gift shop within and entered from a hotel. So that's what's in a hotel. That's a lakeside office park hotel, Lakeside Inn. There's certain amenities in there for the people that stay. There's room service. There's maybe a little store. There's a bar. There's a restaurant, and that's where the differentiation. That certainly is not stuff that happens inside our single or two family homes. And then there's also with hotels is a requirement for loading bays, because a hotel is a commercial building. It's not a house. And then the table of parking, the parking requirements, this is, you look at hotels. So this tells you the context in our bylaw of a hotel: 1 per 2 employees in the maximum working shift, plus 1 per guest room. You're not renting a whole house or a unit, you're renting a room. Plus 1 per 3 seats in a restaurant. As I just said, it's anticipated it would have a restaurant. Plus 1 per 200 square feet of space in a function room, not designed for eating. So that hotel is a facility. It's not a house. So certainly under the letter, we don't think we're classified as a hotel. Again, it's not specifically defined in the bylaw. I showed you where it's mentioned for context. You would first go to the building code. Our bylaw tells you to go first. It says if it's not defined, look at the building code. It's not defined in the building code. And if it's not defined there, go to the dictionary. But you can look at the bylaw for context. If you look at the dictionary, it's defined as an establishment that provides lodging and usually meals, entertainment, and various personal services for the public, as is consistent with what I've just showed you in the bylaw. So we would say that the rentals of our clients' properties is certainly not a hotel use under our zoning bylaw. Now, as far as the lodging or rooming house, which is mentioned in the building inspector's letter, that's real easy, because that is specifically defined. That is a defined term in our bylaw. So this is the definition section of our bylaw. And so you see it right here: lodging or rooming house. A building where lodging units, and you've got to focus on that word, lodging units, are rented to 4 or more persons. A lodging house shall not include a convalescent, nursing, rest home, dormitory, charitable, educational, as I've mentioned, it goes on, or hotels. So the definition of lodging or rooming house is driven by the definition of lodging unit. Again, it starts with a building where lodging units. So now what's a lodging unit? And this is a critical component: 1 or more rooms for the semi-permanent dwelling use of not more than 3 individuals, not living as a single housekeeping unit, and not having cooking facilities. Well, all of our clients' properties have cooking facilities, they have kitchens. So clearly it's on the face of the bylaw, it's not a lodging or rooming house use. And then I'm gonna go back to the letter for a minute, if I may, because there's another important aspect of that. That's okay with you, Mr. Chair?
Please do.
I won't be much longer.
Thank you.
Then Mike has a whole presentation.
Yeah, I was gonna take the words right out of my mouth.
Because I just wanted, this is kind of, I think, and I understand after my discussion with them, with the struggles of the building inspector, because it's a unique situation. That when you look at, if you go on the letter, I'm sending this to you because the letter premises are located in either the single residence or general residence district. A hotel use is forbidden in both districts. We went through a hotel. And this is where there's kind of a confusing message to our clients, which it says a lodging or rooming house use is likewise forbidden, excepting only in a general residence district is allowed by special permit. If the premises are located in a general residence district, I'm writing because the records show that you have not obtained a special permit. Well, our clients wouldn't obtain a special permit because they have kitchens. So they don't need one because they're not a lodging unit. So, you know, that was kind of just a clarification that I wanted to point out to you when I actually discussed with the building inspector. So the basic message is, at the end of the day, if whoever the person is that filed the complaint doesn't like Airbnb type rentals, then they should try to resurrect the failed 2015 zoning article and try to file it again at town meeting. You can file a citizen petition for town meeting and put it on the warrant. But the history is clear and the zoning bylaw is clear in favor of the applicants, our clients, the way it's written today. And I think to rule otherwise, I think it's kind of, you know, would be disingenuous and unfair. You know, all of our clients, you know, this is their properties. This is how they pay their bills. This is how they operate. And to take this away from them when it's not warranted under the bylaw, clearly not warranted, would not be fair. And we don't think should be allowed. So I guess in closing, I'd like to say on behalf of our clients, Attorney McCarthy and I respectfully request that you vote to determine that the applicant's Airbnb type rentals of their properties or portions of their properties is applicable, because some are two families, does not constitute a hotel or a lodging or rooming house use, and as such is not in violation of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, and to overturn the building inspector's letter and order dated April 8th, 2024 as applicable to all of these properties. And with that said, Mr. Chair, if I could just ask if Attorney McCarthy could have a minute if he has anything to add.
Only a minute is all I need, Mr. Chairman. Don't time it. Right, can you put that, and with the permission of the chair, Mike, can you put that letter back up? The
Yep.
CC list? So my comment while that's happening is that the nature of the complaint is such that it attempts to be a referendum or a bar on Airbnbs because it blasted out to 4 different properties and not any one in particular. So it's kind of a person's trying to cast a broad net. But the point that I want to emphasize, and Brian did make it very clearly and eloquently, is that this is not a referendum on whether Airbnb should be allowed in town. It's simply a question of whether the 4 properties are hotel or lodging units. And if you look at the letter, as Brian said, there's a couple of issues where as Brian related, it describes that these are being used on a short-term rental basis. And as Brian pointed out, it's not defined. He also noted importantly that it's subjective, but I would also add it's variable, because if Benny moves on to another town or retires, new building inspector comes in, he or she says, you know what, I think it's 2 weeks, or I think it's 60 days. It's variable. It needs to be enforceable, and it can't be enforceable if it's not defined, it's subjective, and it's variable. Now, the next line, under such a use would be either a hotel use or a lodging or rooming house use. It doesn't say why, right? It has a broad under zoning law, but Brian demonstrated very capably and concisely that it's not actually either a hotel room or lodging house use. So there's no real explanation as why it would want it. It's a conclusory statement without any explanation that's demonstrably not accurate. So those are the points that I wanted to make. I think Brian made, well, we worked on the presentation together, but I think it covered everything that we wanted to cover. And as I said, as Brian said in that last sentence of that paragraph that's highlighted, if the premises were located in a GR district, you could obtain such a permit, but we can't, as Brian said, because that presupposes that it's a lodging house or lodging units, and they're not, because they don't have kitchens. So can certainly understand where the building inspector is coming from on this. I don't think this initiated out of his office. It's just in response to complaints. So that's it. Other than that, my client asks for the same relief as Brian's, and we respectfully request your help in clarifying the matter.
Quite frankly, your decision is going to be will be helpful to the building inspector, because now there's some clarity on this when people approach him and/or file complaints.
Yep.
Okay. Is that the entirety of your presentation?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, before I go to the board, we do have some correspondence from town departments. For the record, I just want to acknowledge them. Again, they're for all 4 cases. We got a letter for each case. They're all the same exact letter. So I'm only going to read it once. DPW letter from Eric Sherman. They performed a review. They have no applicable comments at this time. Conservation Commission has reviewed the submission. They have really no comment on this at all. There is a comment from I guess the new town planner, Samantha Elliott. It's not really written to us, but I'll read it into the record. It's written to the applicants, dated June 10th, to whom it may concern. After reviewing the application for a party aggrieved of a decision made by the building inspector, I would recommend the Board of Appeals uphold the decision made by the building inspector. The structure located at each of these 4 things is zoned in general residence. The use does not permit short-term housing rentals, lodging, or rooming house or hotels by right in this district. As these uses are not permitted in the zoning district, general residence by right, the planning department offers its support of the decision made by the building inspector. Further, the town is aware of the area's housing crisis should this unit be brought back online in compliance with long-term year-round rentals or other options as allowed by right. The unit could aid in addressing the need for housing in the area as outlined in the 2015 through 2020 Wakefield Housing Production Plan and Housing Needs Assessment. The department is happy to discuss other viable options for by right or special permit uses allowed within the general residence. Signed, Samantha Elliott, Senior Planner, Town of Wakefield. From the fire department, the Wakefield Fire Department has been asked to review the application. Department will not support the application until the property is properly permitted and approved by the building inspector. And those are all in the record of each one of these cases. So just wanted to put them on record before I turned it over to the board for comments, questions. Anybody?
Sure, I think the attorneys did a great job presenting the case tonight, and given the fact that it was turned down at town meeting and that there's no, our zoning bylaw doesn't address it, you can be upset by that, but I don't think we have any right to uphold the cease and desist order. I think these people need to be allowed to rent it the way they rent it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Trip. If I own one of these houses and I want to rent it for a year and get a lease, I get a year. If I want to rent it for a week and get a lease for a week, it's up to me, And I guess my only question, I think you might have answered, is did Benny get all these calls at the same time? Did they all come in, like all 4?
I think it's one person. I think it's one person.
Because I just went on the website for Airbnb in Wakefield. There's a Airbnb. I was shown there's a lot more than these 4.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, as a homeowner, I have no problem with this, really.
Brian, is there any consideration as to maybe there's more than one in a house? And what I'm getting at is, I'm trying to make a distinction between this, let's say you had 4 of these in a single residence district. And somebody wanted to, will have short-term rentals for sober living or a halfway house or something along those lines. What's the difference?
I think, well, I mean, I think if it's a sober house or a group home, those are exempt from zoning under federal law. So, you know, these aren't that. You know, this is a this
And
is
those
this is
fall
just
under more
use-
lodging
this is
anyway.
just a
They're-
use as a house. You know, the interesting thing is too, the town planner reference, you know, they should be long-term rental. Guess what? We don't define that either. There's no, you know, and that there's been a recent case on that, you know, and that was an argument made that, you know, hey, if this isn't allowed, then maybe you can't rent your house for a year because our bylaw doesn't say long-term rental is allowed. So that, you know, that's where, you know, if it's gonna be regulated, as Attorney McCarthy said, it's gotta be done by the bylaw with definition, so it's enforceable, so the building inspector knows what he's dealing with.
So what you're saying is it fails for vagueness, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, yeah, as Mike said, it's too subjective.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, what's before us is really what's in Ben's letter. And after the presentation, I agree with that. And I don't think it's up to this board if someone's got a problem with it, they should put the bylaw together, get it to town meeting. And I don't think it's this board's role to usurp the authority of town meeting. So I don't see I'm not in favor of upholding the building inspector's decision here. Anybody else?
No, Mr. Chair, agreed.
Okay, with no other comments from the board, are there any members of the public that wish to comment on any of these 4 cases that we are currently discussing? If so, please use the raised hand function on Zoom. Going once, twice. Okay, closing public comment on the matters. We've got 4 different decisions to make. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chair, I will move that the board find and determine that the property at 50 Bartlett Street does not constitute a hotel or lodging or rooming house and is therefore not prohibited by our zoning bylaws. And as such, we move to overturn the building inspector's decision noted in his letter dated April 8th, 2024.
Seconded.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
I vote yes as well. That's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make the same motion that the board determine that the property at 36 Elm Street does not constitute a hotel or lodging rooming house and is therefore not prohibited by our zoning bylaws. And as such, we move to overturn the building inspector's decision noted in his letter dated April 8th, 2024.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
and I vote yes. That too is unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move that we move to determine that the property at 16 Bryant Street does not constitute a hotel or lodging or rooming house and is therefore not prohibited by our zoning bylaws. And as such, we move to overturn the building inspector's decision noted in his letter dated April 8th, 2024.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board determine that the property located at 20 Avon Street does not constitute a hotel or lodging rooming house and is therefore not prohibited by our zoning bylaws. And as such, we move to overturn the building inspector's decision noted in his letter dated April 8th, 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
and I vote yes. That's unanimous as well. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Happy 4th, everybody.
You too.
You too.
All right, next up.
Go in peace.
Yeah.
You came in peace. You might as well go in peace.
All right, we moved the continued hearing 2377, 2378, 2379 Northeast Warehouse LLC located 3 Melvin Street down the agenda. I'll now call that forward with case 2448 Northeast Warehouse Boston LLC. Application for variance regarding signage requirements also located at 3 Melvin Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Brian McGrail representing the applicant, Northeast Warehouse, Boston LLC. As you're aware, I filed for a sign variance because the signs that are part of what's been presented to the board require a variance, and that's what I would really like to cover tonight. I had a family wedding, so I was not able to get conditions and findings done because I think you're pretty much ready to move forward on this. So
Yep.
apologize.
So why don't we move, if I can get a motion, then let's move to continue the cases 2377, 2378, 2379 to our next meeting. And
I'd like to-
dispose of that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to move that to August if I could, just because of a potential conflict I have, and you have these 40Bs with TAC, and it's just, you're gonna be jammed on July. So
You don't want to join us for that fun?
I'll probably be here, but I just don't want to clog it, because I think, because that, closing this out might take a little time. And I think just August would be a better time to do that.
Okay, our August meeting is on the 14th, folks, so if someone can, let's dispose of that and then get to the sign variance.
Brian, is there my notes have an extension on this. Are we covered?
You're right now, you're good until August 31, so would give you another, I was gonna just mention that. So, but if you want to do that as part of the same thing, I will offer you an extension for whatever you desire, Mr. Hatfield.
I'll just end of September or something, just gives us a couple meetings and time to.
I would say just do October 15th, just to, because assuming, if this moves forward, you're gonna have to write decisions and, so.
Can't we do it to sign at the same time we do everything else for the building?
You can, but this is for the underlying one that's been going on, Chip. You need more time. You're
We're
gonna
actually running out of time, right?
No, I'm just saying, can't we do everything get the extension, but can't we do the discussion and everything on?
Oh, in August?
In August?
I'd like to just talk to you about the sign for 2 minutes.
Okay.
Because I want to know if it's gonna be okay, otherwise I gotta modify it. So the sign going over.
So are you just looking to discuss the sign to add it to the whole package on the
Yes.
14th?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to get us to vote on the sign tonight.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I want to make sure I'm on the same page with your board on the sign. So
Okay.
I'm coming to hopefully close this out in August, and then I find out.
All right, that all makes more sense to me. Sorry,
I'm not looking for any vote tonight. No,
Okay.
just feedback.
You got all those votes.
Clock on you for 2 minutes.
Told you I come in peace tonight.
So Dave, maybe you can make the motion to extend the non-signage cases to August 14th with a extension to October 15th.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, I move that we continue the previous applications for a special permit finding and variance to our August 14th, 2024 hearing, and accept the offer from the applicant to extend the time for the board to render a decision to October 15th, 2024.
Seconded.
Great, motion's been made, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Dave?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
Mickey?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. That matters continued. Then now going with case 2448, which is the signage for 3 Melvin Street. Mr. McGrail?
Yeah,
Proceed.
pretty efficient on this, I think, Mr. Chair. So this is, you're familiar with the whole building, I'm not gonna waste time. There's an existing sign as you face Water Street here that they want to keep, a small sign. And then they have the warehouse sign, which I'm gonna show you, it's halo lit on this side. And then they're also proposing it on the back side of the building, which faces kind of McClellan Concrete. Let me just see here. So this shows you, this shows you kind of how it would be halo lit. I want to get a nighttime shot of it. It's a good size sign. It's about 108 square feet, but I think proportionately it's what, you know, what is needed on that building. There's no, you know, my client's happy to entertain some time limits on this. There's no need to have this thing lit all night. So whatever, you know, the board would want to do on that, whatever you think would be appropriate.
What time are the, Brian, I don't know, what time are the shop parking lights on till?
I don't know, Chip, but we can find out, you know, I mean, we have time to, you know, I can look into that.
I think my feel is there should be time limits. I don't think this thing needs to glow all night.
No.
And I think it should go off whenever Shaw's shuts down, because it's kind of that same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be unreasonable.
It's a warehouse in a way, so it doesn't even need to be all lit till 11 o'clock at night. I mean, I think anytime, a few hours after, even after dusk, it should be fine. Right? I mean, does it need to be up till 8, 9 o'clock at night in the middle of winter? I guess if the business hours are still open, but
yeah, I mean, I'll find out.
My question is, what sort of what's their, you know, are they bringing trucks in there till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night?
No, maybe.
I haven't seen their O&M yet.
Yeah, I'll get the hours, Chip. So I mean, this is why I wanted to talk to you about it. So I'll kind of get those hours and you know, maybe for example, where the trucks are coming in, the trucks aren't going to come in from this side facing Water Street. So, but they're coming in from the other side. So perhaps there will be a longer, you know, on the other side facing McClellan, because that really doesn't impact anybody anyways.
McClellan, you probably won't even see it from there, really.
No,
right?
no, but that might be kind of, if they're coming in at nighttime, that might be an identifying feature for the drivers. So I'll find out some detail on that, and then we can fine tune it at the meeting. If that's okay.
Besides what, Brian, I would agree with you that I think I'm trying to think of what's up there now, but I think it's about the same size.
Here's what they're proposing.
Brian, to be clear, it's red during the day and white at night.
Yeah, oh, it's lit from behind, Joe. Yeah, that's kind of the look you get from it. It's halo lit.
Yeah.
So it's lit from behind. It just kind of highlights the letters. It doesn't light up the red and you won't even see the yellow really. Kind of see it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the yellow is just getting lit from the back of the light on the crystal sign.
Brian, did we get a copy of this? The application didn't have this.
Yeah, it's a link, Dave.
Did I miss it again? Because it's a link. I think you lose me when you put links. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's a link because it was too big for a PDF attachment. I can send it to you. You want me to send it to you again?
I'm just looking again. I missed it. When did you send it, roughly?
It was probably, I would say,
Friday at 11:50.
it might have been April, Dave. Might have been an April Friday email.
Oh, back in April. Oh, okay.
Might have been.
Yeah, I see it now. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We do have some correspondence from the town. DPW, they have no comment at the time. Our senior planner has another letter for us. Gentlemen, may concern on June 17th, 2024, the planning department reviewed the memo regarding the 3 Melvin Street. The memo noted you received the application for signage variance from the applicant. I have a few concerns with signage variance the applicant is seeking, whether the hours of illumination on the reverse channel lit sign. What is the business setting? What is the brightness setting? Is there a way to utilize a warmer light for the signage to reduce impact on surrounding properties? While the code does provide parameters for some of these items, it is not explicitly spelled out in the provided plans. Thank you, Samantha Elliott, Senior Planner, Town of Wakefield. From the Conservation Commission, they have no comment. The Fire Department has no comments. So the planner had a couple of similar questions about illumination and brightness as well. Any other comments, questions from the board?
Nope.
You're seeing none. You think you got what you need, Brian?
I do.
Okay. So with that, can we get a motion? The other one was continued to August 14th, so we should probably be consistent with the
Extend,
entirety.
and extend the time on this too, Mr. Chair, just because the decisions will be in sync.
Okay,
So I move that we continue this matter to our August 14th, 2024 meeting and extend the, accept the applicant's request to extend the time for the board to render a decision to October 15th, 2024.
Seconded.
motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
I vote yes as well. That is unanimous. Thank you for that. Moving on, case 2450, another application for a party aggrieved building inspector. It's related to property located at 340 to 340A Main Street.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail representing G&T Main Street LLC, the owner of property at 340 Main Street. This is a friendly aggrieved party because this is an application to reconstruct the mixed-use commercial residential building that was destroyed by a catastrophic fire in May of 2023. As you know, under our bylaw, there's a by right provision which states any non-conforming structure may be restored and used regardless of estimated restoration cost, provided that the new or restored structure is not substantially more non-conforming than the former structure. So the building inspector appropriately defers that decision to you of what we're to determine if what we're proposing is not substantially more non-conforming than the former structure. So that's what we like to go over with you tonight. With me is the owner of the property, the principal of G&T Main Street LLC, Gus Alfonso, and you can see him on the screen, and also our architect, DF Valenti Architects, Dominic Valenti is here, who was the architect for this project. I think it's probably best that I start. I'm just going to start with a photograph of the property to familiarize you with it.
Charlie's. We lost Charlie's.
Yeah.
And people lost their homes.
So here is the building. I'm sure you're devastated that we're going to be getting rid of that sign. That was a grandfather sign. So what's going to happen here, and Dom can talk a little bit about it. We're gonna tear the building down right down to the ground, and rebuild. And it's going to be on the same footprint, so we're not expanding footprint of the building. I'm going to show you we submitted elevation plan drawings Dominic did his best to do some colored elevations. I scanned them. Dom is, to his credit, is kind of old school, so his plans are actually hand-drawn, to his credit. So, so they're not as clear as you might be used to seeing, but I think you'll be able to get the gist. So let me open that up. A second.
The plan is for mixed use again, Brian, right?
Yep, same use. Good point, Mr. Hatfield. It's gonna be restaurant on the first floor and 2 units above. Bear with me for a second.
Oh, we saw hand drawings for Nahat Street, so it's about the same.
I just found.
You had to pick at that scab, did you?
I thought the comment was appropriate.
Okay. So what Dom has done is, and he can talk a bit about it, he's done an elevation of the front of the building, which is on the right, the left side. What we're proposing is a stucco building. These are not exact colors. We can show colors to the board. And Dom can talk to you about what he's thinking for a color to fit in with downtown. But he's also talking about incorporating brick into the facade down below here, and then in the parapet with some brick trim around the windows. This would be a flat roof structure, not the peak roof. We think it fits in more with what's happening downtown today, because that was kind of an outlier building. So with that said, Dom, are you there? Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. So do you want to add to what I said about the building, Dom, and maybe any thoughts that you have about it?
No real change, no change. I think the way it is.
What are you thinking for the stucco material, Dom?
Stucco is if stucco is done correctly, it will last a very long time, and it's easy to maintain. And there's a way to do stucco. I've worked with stucco buildings almost or even before I opened up my office 60 years ago. I did a stucco ceiling in Logan Airport, and it still has no cracks in it.
So you're proposing a real stucco here?
Yes, it's real stucco, three coat stucco.
So not the the kind of the plastic facades that you see.
No.
And can you tell the board what you're thinking for color palette on the brick and the stucco?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry. Could you tell the board what you're thinking for colors of the stucco and the brick?
Okay, well, the brick, I would think it would be sort of in the red to brown area, and we'd have the stucco would be more of a cream color. It could be a little darker than cream, but I would pick it really when we pick the brick that's actually going to be used. And you can't pick a brick now that's going to be used, because more than likely whatever you look at that's in stock won't be in stock 2 months from now. So I get samples of bricks, and then we pick them, and usually we pick something that's in stock. And as you know, well, I don't know if you know, but when brick is fired, every lot of firing is a different color. So you can't match bricks that were made 1 month and then to bricks made the next month, even though the blend is exactly the same. It just doesn't happen. So we usually try to pick a brick that's available when the construction is going on. But we, of course, you can get the blend, may not be an exact color. And the only time it would be picked up is when the two bricks come together, we'll say on a wall, but
Got it.
you were across the street looking at one brick and you went to the other side of the street and looked at another brick, you would never know the difference.
Right, and I want to add, Mr. Chair and members of the board, that we, recognizing the board, normally wanting some exactness on materials and color palettes, et cetera, where we're in the process of choosing these, that we would entertain the board retaining jurisdiction to approve the brick material and the coloring of the stucco in the windows, recognizing that's kind of that you want to know what that is before you usually approve anything, that it would just simply be that you would retain jurisdiction. And then when we're ready to move forward, we would present some samples and some colors to get approved by the board.
That's correct.
Brian, I would like to see some samples, but do we have jurisdiction on that? I mean, they're not asking for anything, right?
Well, basically, here's what you have, Joe, and this is the way it's been interpreted, that, you could say that it's, depending on how it's going to look, whether it's substantially more non-conforming or not. And Gus is on the call. He wants to work with the board. His goal is to build a really good building that everybody is in sync is going to look good. So,
Right.
So he's happy to, right, Gus?
Yes, absolutely.
Happy to take input from the board. The board has.
I mean, I guess what I'm concerned about, Brian, is this doesn't stand alone downtown. It has buildings next to it. And I'd love to see how, does this become part of the Smile, or is this, stand out and doesn't coordinate with the buildings on either side?
So let's look at that, Chip. And maybe Dom can talk a little bit about that. Let me just find probably the best way to go about that is to look
If
at.
you go back to where the burnouts,
the photos probably. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna need some kind of side by side, I think, to see what.
You gotta see how this is between two buildings, between the co-op and the iPlace. So
Two
we gotta
totally
see
different buildings.
how it's gonna stick in there.
Well, it's gonna basically, Dom, do you understand the question?
Yes.
So what's the height in context to the other two?
How's it gonna fit? How's it gonna look in relation to the bank and the building? This alley guy stays, so that alley doesn't go away where that car is. So there will be a separation between these two buildings, but it's extremely close to the cooperative bank building. So Tom, can you address that?
Yeah.
How's this aesthetically gonna fit into the neighborhood on your design?
Well, if you look to the right of the building, when you're facing it, you have the bank, which is a concrete building with.
Actually before the co-op.
Concrete is usually greater bay, and on the on the left-hand side, it's sided, and it looks like it's a yellow side, and it has brick on the bottom. So actually, the building that I propose is there's brick on the bottom of a couple of the buildings in the area, but the stucco would, especially being on the driveway side, would be closer to the eyeglass building, and it would harmonize with that. The concrete building, the red brick, the brownish brick, whatever we pick, would blend nicely with the concrete. So I don't think it would stand out like a sore thumb. I think it would be more in keeping with its neighbors.
I mean, ironically, kind of what burnt stuck out like a sore thumb.
I'm sorry, was that again?
The building that's being taken down kind of sticks out like a sore thumb because it looks like a house in the middle of downtown.
Right.
Yeah, I think the flat roof, turning it into a flat roof kind of brings that.
Yeah,
roof
what's the
line.
height compared to the other two buildings?
Let's see, I think.
I think
it
we
might
need
be-
more of a little bit of a context study here, Brian, to really understand what the project is all about.
Okay. Yeah, and you want to see where it relates the height to those other two buildings, Chip?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can do that, right, Tom?
Yes, we can get the height.
Yep.
Of both buildings and superimpose it on a drawing showing what would be on the left would be lower than the new building, but it would probably be very close to the same height as the existing bank that's there.
But we can document that, Chip.
sounds good.
Okay,
I
any other
have
comments?
I have a couple comments.
Sure, please go ahead.
I was looking at the plan that was submitted. I'd like to see the stairs to the units above unit a little bit wider, because it looks like you can only fit the 36-inch door right now. That's a little tight for somebody to bring in and out the sofas and large furniture. Also you can have a little bit of more breathing space for mailbox and stuff for the units above. And then I wanted to ask if there's rooftop unit, like a mechanical unit, because I was wondering, you have the parapet is very high on the roof. Or is there like a roof access for the tenant? Is that the reason?
You want me to answer those questions now?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
please do.
Okay, as far as the parapet on the roof is 3'6" high, and it's really to hide more or less the rooftop units that would be required.
Okay.
No, the roof is not for the tenants. The tenants have a very large porch in the rear. That's built into the building, so they don't need to be up on the roof. But we want to hide the whatever mechanical is required, and there will be mechanical required. As far as the stair, the door, it's a 7-foot door, which is actually 4 inches more than what code asks for.
No, I mean not the height, but the width of the door.
The width is probably 3'6".
Oh, okay.
So you're looking at a little, unfortunately, you're looking at probably an 8.5 by 11.
Yeah.
Sheet.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I thought that was three feet door. How do you access to the rooftop unit?
You would, we actually would and go to the rooftop unit with a ladder that's going to be on the first floor, on the first and second floor porch. There'll be a ladder to bring you up to the roof for the workmen.
Okay, but the tenant they won't have access to it,
No.
to the ladder. Okay, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? I do have some correspondence from the town departments. From the DPW, no applicable comments. From Conservation Commission. No applicable comments. From the town planner. Letter dated June 20th. On June 17th, the planning department reviewed the memo regarding 348 Main Street. The memo noted you received an application for a party aggrieved by the decision made by building inspector. I have a few concerns with the proposed structure. The applicant is seeking to build. While the code does provide for rebuilding after a fire, the proposed structure is a substantive change from the structure that was there prior to the fire. Previously, there was a residential structure with a first floor commercial space and 2 units above. While the second floor and attic space retained its residential character, the first floor converted into a traditional glass storefront that enclosed the original hip roof, single-story front porch. The proposed structure is a traditional commercial mixed-use building similar to other structures along Main Street with a flat facade, commercial storefront on the first floor and 2 stories above for residential space. The proposed structure, while varying from the original structure, is in keeping with the overall character of the area. I believe that some minor changes would further solidify that intent. The windows on the second and third floor would be benefited to have a consistent spacing versus the current asymmetry in keeping with the traditional design. I would also consider making the entire front facade brick veneer, and keeping the brick off the side elevation, or changing the cornice to be consistent with the exterior material underneath, making it smaller or removing it entirely from the structure. Lastly, I would consider adding a sign ban in keeping with the sign overlay district, which denotes the preference for signs to be included in a dedicated sign ban space, which can be readily achieved through offsetting the brick in that space for a variation in the plane. While none of these suggestions are required, it would produce a building more consistent with the traditional commercial character of the area and maintain consistency with the signage overlay. Brian, do you have that letter?
I do.
Who is that from?
That's our town planner.
Our
Brian,
new
I
town
would-
planner.
Samantha Elliott,
I would-
senior
I
planner for the
would
town.
suggest a meeting with her, Brian.
Okay. Okay,
I got a letter here also from Chief Sullivan, the Wakefield Fire Department. Brian, do you have this letter as well?
I do. I just got it. Yep, Gail,
Okay.
kind enough, Gail sent it to me.
Just talks about fire sprinkler systems, fire detection system. It's pretty boilerplate for what they're going to look for in this type of building. So I don't. If you have it, it's pretty
That's gonna be,
routine.
that will be in our final design, you know, we need
Yeah.
to satisfy him for building code.
Okay, that's the correspondence from the board. I mean, from town department, excuse me. Back to the board. Any other further comments before I open it up to public comment?
Yeah, real quick, Brian, is it pizza going back there, or is that just the plan, everything going back the way it was?
Well, the tenant moved to Stoneham, so I don't think, you know, unless they open another location here, they might, you know, we don't know yet, Joe. It's way too early.
Oh, okay. Yes, yeah, just throwing it out there.
Anybody else? Okay, if there's a member of the public here who wishes to comment on this, please use the raised hand function in the Zoom. See a hand up, Kate Crump.
Hi there,
Please
Kate
unmute.
Crump from 9 Avon Street. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. I just had a quick question about the stucco coloring. I am not super familiar with stucco, and with the driveway being on the side, if that ends up being final material, I was worried about discoloration due to, you know, road grime and the kick up from the tires and sort of it making it look grimy over time. So I was just hoping there'd be some comment on that in the future.
Dom, if I can, Mr. Chair.
Please do.
Dom, so the concern is that whether the stucco will be kind of a dirt trap, especially on the
Driveway side.
On the driveway side,
yeah, in the maintenance of it.
the stucco is, well, one, we put a color in it, whatever it is, and that sort of seals it up. So you, whatever material you put on there, even if it were vinyl sided, you would not get any dirt.
Is
that
the
would
stucco
make it-
washable, Dom?
What's that?
Is the stucco washable pot, you know, can it be?
Yes, you can wash stucco. It stands out in the rain.
Yeah, okay. Does that answer your question through you, Mr. Chair, ma'am?
Being the bank next door is stucco.
It's panels, no. Yeah.
I think so, Brian.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody else? Hearing, seeing none, back to the board, pleasure of the board.
I assume we're continuing. So, right, we're not done with this one, so continue to July 10th, Brian?
I don't know, we need to talk about that. So, I mean, Chip, are you directing us to meet with the town planner?
I think you need to after that letter. I think you gotta either, I don't know that you have to have your whole group meet with her, but Brian, I think you need to find out how many, you know.
Well, I don't have
I
to.
think
unless you
some of
like-
her concerns are legitimate, so I think you need to have her buy into the program.
Okay, so, I mean, that's not an issue. So, what I'm wondering, Gus and Dom, so the board meets again July 10th, so we're being directed to meet with the town planner to kind of go over some of her comments that she had. Because Chip thinks that some of them might be good ideas. What does the board think about a brick front that she mentioned?
We could do no brick front, that's not a problem.
I want to know what the board thinks about it because that might, that's something she requested. So, I want to kind of know where the board stands on that when we talk to her.
I like it. But
You like it, Mike?
I'm one of many.
I guess I'd have to see it against the, I'd have to see it and see what it looks like against the left and the right.
Okay.
It seems like a lot of brick, actually, but.
So you're undecided on that, which is fine.
Or a brick clapboard. I was thinking, is this not fit like the hardy board with a combination of brick? Something, so it is sort of housing up top and commercial down the bottom. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't expecting stucco, I'll be honest. I just don't know.
I'm
I don't
sorry
know
to
where else that
interrupt
is
you.
in downtown. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't particularly like hardy board. It doesn't stand up to what it's supposed to be. It moves too much and then it never goes back. So actually, in my office, I don't use hardy board. I'll use real panels. I won't use synthetic stuff.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll meet with her. So Gus, what we have to determine is, I don't know if it's practical to come back in July because we've got to set up a meeting with the town planner. And then we're gonna do some work on these architectural plans to do some revisions. And I don't see us having time to accomplish that for the July 10th meeting, considering the 4th of July is coming up. My suggestion, Gus, is that we continue this until the August meeting, which is August what, Dave?
14th.
I'm sorry, Tom, 14th. Does that make sense, Gus?
Yeah, I mean, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to be practical. I don't want to tell the board we're going to be back on July 10th. It's already the 26th, and once we meet with the town planner, Dom's going to have to do some changes to the plans and this, and we got July 4th in the middle of all this.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, if we had to make it for the 10th, we would hustle to make it, but
we got to meet with the town planner too.
If of course, without reading without having the letter in my hand to
All right. So
see what I have to do.
What we'll do, okay, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, we'll continue it to July 10th with the anticipation that you're probably going to get a letter, but that way, if we do accomplish something, we can come back.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. The other thing, I think people are having trouble wrapping their mind around the stucco. If you could get some picture or something with some color too, I think people are having trouble visualizing the building with no color, no real context of where the brick's gonna be, and I know you gotta talk to the planner. So obviously we want to help this. I think we all want to get this rebuilt. It's important to the town. It's in the downtown. We got to get this done. We want to do it fairly quickly for these folks, but we still got to get it right.
It's an opportunity to just make sure it's done right. We're all on the same page. And so it looks nice when it's done and it works, right?
It's gonna look really good.
Yeah, we're on the same page. We're rolling in the same direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Tom said, I just, I have visions of stucco from the 70s, right? I know it's,
yes.
I think I just need to see a picture of the style. I Googled it, like there's textures to it. I think I just need to see it too. If that's really where they want to go with this, probably just need to see an actual picture of what it looks like.
The
color.
stucco will be like a sandy finish. It's
I
not.
don't want to get into it. Sorry.
Yes.
I don't want to go there. We're gonna talk about it later.
Yep.
Just saying we need to see it.
Okay.
It's getting late. We don't want to.
I agree.
Yeah, so if they can hustle and get here by the 10th, Brian, that's great. If not, we'll be ready to receive your material for the 14th, so.
Okay. Great.
All right. Thank you. Look forward to helping you guys get
Thank
this
you.
thing rebuilt, so.
Hey, Mr. Chair, I actually move that we continue the hearing to the July 10th meeting.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Dave?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mickey?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we're moving on to other matters. 200 Water Street, Cataldo Ambulance, discuss signage.
Yep, I'm here for that. I think this can be pretty quick, hopefully.
You're still here in peace, right?
Always in peace. I learned my lesson tonight. Okay.
Don't get Tom started.
I don't plan on it.
That was me being nice to Mr. Panos.
Hate to see you on a bad day.
You should hear what he really wants to say.
I want to know what's running through Greg's mind right about now.
So we're just back here for Cataldo, just on the signage, because they have a change they want to do on the signage. Which I think is, they want to reduce the signage, actually. This is the building. I'm bringing back the approved plan. And so this is the garage door, and they plan on having a Cataldo, white lit up sign here above the garage. And then they plan on putting one here by the back door. So you can kind of see the elevations. These are the renderings that were approved by the board. And what they want to do is they want to get rid of this sign. They don't see a need for it. It doesn't face anything. It faces the back of another building. So they have no need for a sign here. And they actually have no need for a sign here because, that would just face the condominium and it's going to be lit up and it's in the back of the building. There's no purpose to that. So they want to take that sign and move it here. So I have one sign here. And I'll show you how that's going to look. I've got two things to show you in that regard.
That same exact sign, Brian?
Yep. I'm going to show you, Chip. I wanted to show you the angle on it. I went out there and took a picture today. I thought this would be helpful for you. Building looks good. It's coming along well. So I went to the car wash across the street. So this kind of shows you it will be right here. I mean, you can see the one that would have been on the garage door kind of makes no sense. And the one back here would certainly make no sense. So they want to put it here. It faces the car wash. So it doesn't face, there's no residential, and they have a little rendering kind of what it will look like.
Isn't there a tree right there, Brian, in the landscape plan?
I don't think it's that high, Chip. If it grows that high.
It's not that high now.
No, but they're not concerned about it. I mean.
Okay.
They have to cut it down.
Yeah. Get rid of it.
But the sign?
Okay.
Say it fell down.
I don't think they get a lot of foot traffic anyway, so.
Oh, I get it. It's like, that's a dad joke.
Yeah, that is a bad joke. I just got it. So this is the actual building that kind of showing where that will be located. It's only a couple of feet high. It's a white sign, internally lit, 11 feet long. It's actually important for them to have their identity though, because they are public safety, that people know where they are. So that's it. They want to lose one sign and move one.
All right, board comment, questions? Anybody have a real concern about this?
I'm
No,
good
what's
with
the
it.
date on the sign plan, Brian? Who did it?
It's really, this is
Not a sign plan.
There's really not, it's really just kind of a rendering that he did, Dave. I mean, I can attach this to a letter to the building inspector. I'll date it today. So you can reference today's date. I'll put a date on it and say that you've allowed the sign to go in lieu of the other ones that were proposed. I'll prepare if it is okay, I'll prepare the letter for Tom and date it.
Fine. I just didn't know if I was not seeing a stamp or a company name somewhere. Okay.
Nope.
All right, Mr. Chair, I move that we find that the proposed sign plan that were dated today that we've been shown for 200 Water Street, the Cataldo Ambulance Company, is deemed a minor modification to our previously existing decision on the matter.
Seconded.
Great. Motion been made, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. That's unanimous. Moving on to the next other matter, 1 Hickory Hill Road, discuss minor modification.
Great. So this deals with Dave Barrett, Chip's favorite applicant.
Haven't we been here for a minor mod already?
No,
Yeah,
I don't think so.
something happened on the front of the
This is-
building or the stone wall in front or,
I think you're right, Chip.
Maybe.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This deals with the fact that there were 2 trees that the board was going to be retained on the landscape plan. And they are dying and not in good shape. So what we've got, I'll show you pictures of the trees. But before that, we've got a letter from the arborist that I'll let you read.
You didn't get a degree for English.
Okay, I think we've seen it, Brian.
All right,
Yep.
good. Good. So one was supposedly a maple tree, but it was labeled wrong, as you saw. And I'll show you some pictures of these trees that are in pretty bad shape. So the oak tree has a cracked trunk and is dying. So I'll show you that, and I'll kind of share the.
Hold it together.
It's gonna be real tough for him to find trees that size.
It's not in good shape. And it's on this like rubble, so the guy's like, this tree's not gonna stay, it's gonna come down. So that's the oak tree. And let me show you the pine.
Don't they have to go to conservation for this?
No. Conservation.
Take trees down?
Oh,
No.
They don't
No,
have
I guess not. They're not. That's right. They're not a conservation. Never mind.
No, Hickory Hill's not even close.
I was just thinking on my property I had to, but that's because I had conservation back then. Never mind.
And this one is just kind of the way it's perched. It's kind of bare on this side. And the concern is that, it's going to come over. It's already encroaching out into the sidewalk. It's a mess. Making a mess of the sidewalk and the street. So those were referenced on the plan to remain, and we're asking the board allow them to come down.
So what's he gonna replace them with?
1-inch caliber.
Oh, half, please, go smaller.
So, Brian, it would be good to know that, and it seems to me though, also, just in the future with projects like this, a walk of the site would have revealed that these trees couldn't stay even by a non-arborist. So I don't know.
I don't
Maybe a
know
little
why,
bit-
I don't know why the landscape architect expect them to stay, because they really don't make a lot of sense.
Who
That's
did
my
the
point.
landscape? Who was the landscape architect on this? I can't remember.
Jimmy Emanuel.
Was it?
Yeah. You want to see the
Well,
landscape?
Jimmy probably never went to the site either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he did, but I mean, those trees don't make a lot of sense. But I mean, if you want something put there, Chip,
Yeah.
all right, if the board would just designate Chip to work out with the developer what to put there and where on the property and what to put in replacement, and we can work with Chip on that.
It's gonna be some sort of pine along the top of that wall.
Yeah, I'd rather you go out there, Chip, and tell them what.
Oh, I will, but that's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
The oak may not need anything to be replaced, but it's gotta be in context with the rest of the landscaping.
I'm fine with that. I don't know about everybody else. I know Chip
Yep.
won't let Mr. Barrett off cheaply.
No.
Oh, stop it.
Just let me know when you're gonna go, Chip, because I want to be there to see him squirm.
Just tell them I'm coming and then
Yeah.
that'll be enough.
All right, let's move this and
All right. So, Mr. Chair, I move that we find that the proposal to remove the 2 trees shown to the board this evening that were designated to be kept on the original plan approved by the board can be removed due to their lack of health and danger to the surrounding area. And that we designate Chip Tarbell, board member Chip Tarbell, to work with the developer to replace them with a suitable size and species to be determined at a later time.
Seconded.
all right, motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Regular voting members, Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Moving on, the 200-400 Corner Powell Parkway signage discussion is not ready for tonight. So I don't think we're going to hear any complaints about that. We'll see that at a later date. We are on to clerk and board comments.
Noria's open.
Bylaw review committee tomorrow.
Go get,
if anyone can
go get
make
your
it.
diesel. Go get your diesel at Noria.
Oh, is that open today?
Yeah.
Do they have
Right.
any annual flowers in? Is there any color on the site?
Chip, you're gonna laugh. I'm all over him on that. He texted me.
There isn't any yet.
I was out there 2 days ago and they weren't, and I said to Pat, "Where he goes, I can't believe they're not here." So he goes, "They'll be here." And I said to him, he texted me tonight. He said, "We're open." I said, "Are the flowers there?" I honestly said that. Yeah.
And what did he say? They'll be there.
I gotta look at his response. I said, "Great news, congratulations. Flowers yet? No response yet."
Yeah.
They'll
Chip's
be
not happy.
there. No, he was all over it. They'll be there.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
They'll be
All
I mean,
right.
the site looks nice. Site looks nice.
It does. It's just really green.
There's actually, Brian, I have a question on that site. Actually, in the front where that lawn area is, and then there's that retaining wall. There's 4 pipes sticking up. Is that due to the filling up the gas tanks? Is like air vents or something? Is that coming? I just assumed that was coming down at one point, but they're still sticking like 12 feet up in the air.
I
Do
didn't
you know
notice
anything about that?
You, Chip?
In which I didn't notice it.
It's behind that retaining wall that it's in the front on Lowell Street, on the corner of Lowell Street where the set of lights are.
Behind the stone wall?
There's that round
Stone wall,
4-foot
yeah.
retaining wall. And behind that, you'll notice there's 4 or 5 pipes sticking up, well, I
How
don't know,
far
10,
up?
15 feet. 10,
Really?
15 feet up in the air, yeah. I don't know if it has something to do with
Maybe
if it has
vents,
something
Chip?
to do with,
Maybe vents?
it's like vents.
It could be, but they shouldn't have to be that high.
I thought they were just there for the,
And right there, I mean, that does make sense. That's where the tanks are.
the tank. I know, but I just assumed they were there for the 90% of the project and they were gonna cut and cap them low, but they're still up there. I don't know if they've ever had plans to do
find
anything with
out.
it, but
Find out.
Yeah, I don't ever
Alright.
remember that being on the plans.
I don't remember seeing it when you and I walked the site.
I
Chip.
don't either, which bothers me.
drive by, you'll see they stick out like a sore thumb.
Are they, what color are they?
They painted them white.
All right, so Brian, you got that one. Joe's giving a reminder that the bylaw committee's tomorrow. I have a work event, but I've talked to Mr. Lieber. I said our board's interested, individuals can go to these meetings as they want. I think we should think about if we have some consensus on the board on some issues, if we want to weigh in as a board. We don't have to do that tonight, but I certainly think it's worth considering. I reached out to him. I'm going to meet him in early July to talk about that. Maybe, Joe, he's singing your praises. What a good job. So thank you again for representing the board on there. So there's that. Kasumi, I saw your hand coming up. Were you going to say something?
Oh,
Yep.
I was gonna offer my help to review the plans and stuff if Chip need help.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I work from home 2 days a week and I'm a little more flexible on those days.
Great.
We can
So as
certainly
we
figure that, thank you, we can figure that out when the next round come.
Okay.
That's appreciated
great.
and helpful.
Tomorrow's meeting is hybrid, so it's in person or Zoom. So that's all.
Okay.
Going.
All right.
I went to 404 Lowell. I think that was after the last meeting and before this one.
There was.
And I think, I sent an email to you and Ben, Tom, that they had met all the ZBA requirements. Thing looks good. So Gail, I don't know if they've applied for their CO yet or not, but
Yeah, yep, they have. We're gonna give them a temporary, I think, for now, because the regulatory agreement hasn't come yet, but it's
okay.
it's almost ready. Yeah,
That's beyond me.
yeah.
We've done our part.
Yep, but they're all set otherwise with everybody.
Okay. Anybody else?
Gail, is there anything in the office that needs to get looked at or addressed?
Not at this time. Nope, you're all
Okay,
set. I'll let you know.
great.
Mr. Chair, I would move that
Item
we,
that I missed it.
I thought so. You can drop by.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the meeting minutes of our June 12th, 2024 hearing.
Second that.
Yeah, we can do that by voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome.
And a motion to adjourn is always in order.
So moved.
Everybody have a great, safe 4th.
Yeah, happy
Yes.
4th, everybody.
Happy
Go in
4th.
peace.
Happy 4th.
Thank you.
The 10th will be here